Hello and welcome. This is Rufelmonger and my friends. This is the big King of Fighters 15 Season 2 balance patch. Probably noticed right out of the gate, well, the character select screen is pretty different. On top of all these new DLC characters like Shingo, and in fact there's one more than they promised. There's 7, they promised 6, so we'll figure that one out in time. But yeah, in this video, I'll be going over the balance changes of every single character. You can probably fathom that's quite a few characters, so there will indeed be timestamps. So please feel free to skip ahead to whatever character sounds interesting to you. Use that timestamp, although if you use timestamps, please leave a like. I have no idea right now, as of my time recording, how long this video is going to be, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a really long video, so likes are sincerely appreciated. So before we get into the nitty gritty, let's just talk a couple universal changes before we get to the character specifics. So now, just for some of the universal changes, one of the ones here is when you are in max mode, you can now gain meter from your attacks. Now, one of the things before the patch we were not fully sure of is quick max. And it's only regular max mode. If you're in quick max, you cannot gain any meter. Only blue max mode will you gain any meter. Still, it gives a good incentive now to use raw max mode. Not many characters have any real use for it, and honestly, even with this change, I don't think many will still yet. But for the characters that do want to use it, it's a straight buff, and it might incentivize its use for some characters that didn't want to use it before. Another change here is blowback attacks. So blowback attacks are standing CD. Now across the board, doesn't matter where it is in a combo, will increase combo scaling. Meaning if you use a blowback attack in the middle of your combo, you will do less overall damage. So for a very basic example here, so blowback into fireball into level 2 super, right? 325. Before this patch, this did exactly 386 damage. So that's pretty significant. Now granted, we're starting with the blowback, right? In certain other combos, it'll be further down the chain, thus would affect your combo scaling less. But in a lot of situations, you know, blowback into special into super is exactly what you're doing because it's a neutral button, right? So for it to go from 386 to 325 in this specific example, that's a good chunk of damage shaved off. Now it doesn't necessarily lose its utility because it's still a good poke into a hit confirmable super, right? Like, oh, did I get it? Okay, easy, I go into super, right? So like it's still worth doing, but the edge, the teeth of it have definitely been taken down quite a bit. Other changes in the game, all crouch light kicks across the board, every single character can no longer hit an airborne opponent no matter what. So if you're even a pixel in the air, it will not let you scoop them up. So well, remain to see how much that affects the meta, but there it is. Other things, if you're in the middle of an attack, you can no longer tech throws. So that will definitely ruin, quote unquote, certain setups, but I think those setups were kind of stupid anyways, that you could cover so many bases so easily. So I'm not going to miss that one too much myself. Now, one of the changes here was talking about reducing some of the input leniency on uppercut style moves. So it'll be harder to accidentally input them, but the old walk forward, then try to go for a fireball still leads into an uppercut, so whatever, I guess. Although if you're unaware, there is a trick in King of Fighters that if you end a fireball style move and up forward, you will always get just quarter circle forward. So if I walk forward and go for my fireball and end it up forward, I will always get the fireball. I won't accidentally get the uppercut if I just did the quarter circle forward motion. So keep that in mind. When you're walking forward or anytime you think you might risk accidentally getting an uppercut instead of a fireball or whatever move, just end it up forward and you always get the quarter circle forward motion. Okay, so now let's start the long journey of the characters. So our boy Shun'ei, he's got a lot of changes and they're pretty much all for the benefit of him. One of the ones, standing light punch, and this is far, not close. Far standing light punch is now special cancelable. Now for a lot of moves, it's not a natural combo, but it's better to be special cancelable than not, so that's good. Far standing heavy punch now leaves the opponent closer, as in it doesn't knock them back at all. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out long term. Close standing light kick has a better hitbox on it. Crouching heavy kick is sweep. Now is 2 frames faster, so it used to be 9 frame startup. Now is 7 frame startup, so all the more useful yet. It's always good to have a quick sweep. Sky Axe, that is his command normal here for light kick. Some interesting changes. So first off, increased distance traveled, so it goes further than it did before. That's good. And also, on the cancel version, like when you use it in combos, you can now go into thruster vision, so making for all sorts of little interesting gimmicks on movement. And the regular version, you can now cancel it before the actual kick comes out. So if you want to do like weird movement, canceling into thruster vision, or is that really any aerial special move, now you can. You're basically just airborne out of the gate. It's almost like Tiger kneeing the move. You can just do an airborne move immediately after you hit forward light kick. Very, very interesting change. Ground hammer, that's forward light punch, the elbow, has more recovery frames, so it's worse on block. But if you do the cancel version now travels further than it did before, so no potential accidental whiffs. That's good. And blowback. So we already talked about in the general section how blowbacks kind of got nerfed for damage. His blowback travels less far because it was ridiculous just as a general neutral button. So that has been reduced a little bit. And also the recovery is increased, so it is worse on block as well. EX Scarlet Phantom, that's the big old punch, now has worse startup. So it used to be 10 frames, now 16. So that's over 50% increase of startup. Significant. Does not go as far either, which is unfortunate, but increased opponent's guard recovery, meaning it is more advantageous on block. Not that it is advantageous on block, because it definitely isn't, but we don't have the numbers yet, but you're less negative at the very least. And also pushes the opponent back further than before, so that's something. On the flip, Aqua Spear EX, this guy, the big old hand, now 2 frames faster. So just faster, therefore just better. Rising Ifrit Light Punch version specifically now gains more meter on startup, good, and also is true invincible against aerial attacks now. So if someone's jumping at you a lot, hopping at you a lot, this is a true and honest reversal. It is full invincible against jumps. Also invincible against throws, but can no longer be followed up in any way, and also has a bit more recovery, but basically is better as a defensive move. Blauwing, the big air hands, less meter on startup, but more meter if it connects, basically just kind of evening out a bit. So it's a little less advantageous on whiff, but it's about the same if you connect. Also for the heavy version specifically, gave it a better hitbox, gave it a worse hurtbox, but overall that's a net buff, I would say. Although as you can see here, still gotta get kind of deep to hit the opponent with it. So hitbox buff can't be that crazy. So Meitenkun. This is one of the changes I was most exciting for, and it's basically everything I could have hoped for it to be. So stand heavy kick, before the actual kick comes out, you are allowed to put any special move in its place. So if we do pillow throw here, if we go heavy kick into pillow throw, that means we now do pillow throws while hopping forward. This basically lets you carry cancel every single special move he has. From that to his charge moves to whatever, it doesn't particularly matter. You just hit heavy kick first and then do your special move, and you move forward a little bit while doing it. That's going to be a really, really, really big deal. You can even do it on certain things which might not be practical, like his charge flash kick move, where you hold down, hit up. If you are particularly quick on your fingers, you can stand, heavy kick, and then complete the charge motion upwards and do it, getting a traveling forward flash kick as it were. Leave that for the pros, I guess. I don't know. We'll see how useful that is. But incredible change. And past that, which is a very, very big deal, just a lot of little things like his various normals are better. Close standing light kick is now a 4-framer instead of 5 frames. That's good. Better hurt box on crouch heavy kick. Ideally using it to trade with hops better versus just outright losing to them. For his various charges, how his mechanic works is the longer you charge, the bigger the move's going to be, right? Sometimes that's not what you want. Sometimes, you want to maintain the same distance of a light. So I've been charging back for a long time, but if I hit light punch, I just get the level 1 version, right? So now you have the choice for the crouching version or the regular charge version. So now if you hit light, regardless of how long you've been charging, you only ever get the level 1 version of the move. Sometimes you want the level 3, sometimes you want the level 1, but now you get to choose. Because before, if you charge for just a bit too long, that was tough. You always had to get the higher level version, right? So now, if you want the low version, hit light punch. And if you want to go crazy, then hit heavy punch and you get whatever charge you got. Straight big buff. More buffs here. EX lunge punch, the follow-up, does more damage. Does 20 more damage, in fact. That's a pretty big buff. His machine gun kicks in the air got better. They give more meter per hit now and have a better hitbox. That's good. And specifically the EX version, every kick does 10 more damage. So it can really sting if it connects. Also, on top of that, they had it changed so now it always auto-corrects. So say there's a situation where you're trying to hop over the enemy. Before, you would just do this flinging over their head. Right now, you might actually connect. So that's good. It always auto-corrects if you're over their head to where the enemy is. And his supers are basically better across the board. Less recovery, better hitbox. Even level 3 has less recovery. So this could lead to situations after you land your super. You might have a few additional frames to play with and thus might be able to get more, pressure or perhaps setups or something. I'll leave that to the Meitenkun masters. I don't know myself. But yeah, so overall, big changes, and bare minimum, being able to cancel the stand heavy kick into any special, I think is going to be revolutionary for the character. Now, Benimaru. So one of the first changes here, stand heavy kick. Just plain old stand heavy kick is now invulnerable. Not just, better hitbox. Invulnerable to lows while it's in motion. So we got Shermie bot here to poke. And it's not quite foolproof. I'll put it that way. Now, that's a good example right there. I clearly went over the low, but it doesn't buy you any startup frames or anything. So if you're slow on the uptake, you will still get poked out. But I did record some footage from the previous build, and basically it's just a bit more reliable. You will win in situations where you definitely would have lost before. So if you know someone's going to be trying to poke you out with lows, and you have enough time to get the startup off the ground, this will make this a much more valuable button. Other fun things, close standing light punch is now a 4-framer from 5, so 1 frame better. So when you're up close, makes it a lot more valuable to use, especially due to the fact it links into crouch heavy punch, which is good, very handy. Jumping heavy kick reduced the hurt box. So in a lot of King of Fighters, jump heavy kick is for Benny, top 10 normal in the game in a lot of King of Fighters. So it is now harder to hit him out of the air. So might be going back to being a kind of a spammable move. I guess we'll wait and see. Iori, this is his flash kick here. So startup on the light kick version is 1 frame faster, 6 frames. It was originally, now it is 5 frames, and increased the cancel window. Now it's not increased to the point where you could just be lazy with it, but you can definitely be sloppier with it in my testing than you were before. Also much the same for the heavy kick version. The increased cancel window can't be completely lazy, but you can definitely start being sloppy with it. So in case you're unaware, the follow-up is just down up kick, and you can definitely enter this much later than you could before. That would have never worked before. So if you're just looking for basic hit confirms, this gives you a bit more mental time to process what's happening and get the follow-up. So just strict buff for sure. Now here we enter some nerf buff territory. So Ramato, that's his big slash light punch version. Worse hitbox. Got nerf there. Expanded hurt box, so it's easier to hit him. Also a nerf. A bit more hit stop on hit though, so easier to cancel into supers. Heavy version is now 4 frames slower, on top of reduced hitbox and a bigger hurt box, which sucks, and also doesn't travel as far. So yeah, that's just kind of a straight nerf. And the hurt box nerf also applies to the EX version that shoots the fireball. Now Raijinkan's electric fist, big old electric punch there. Increase the window for you to be able to do a super. Now first thing, it's not by much. At least I can do the move and then do the fireball super motion and get it. Before I would have to do quarter circle forward, punch, and then immediately do another quarter circle forward. I'd have to use a buffer trick basically to get it. Now I can actually get it the normal way, but it's still not that lenient, I'm not gonna lie to you. Also, the heavy version of Raijinkan got better. Decreased the startup to 19 frames from 23. So it is now 4 frames faster than it was. To the point where that means you might be able to get into certain combos you could not get it before. Also, his aerial Raijinkan, this guy here, if you use the light punch version, there's no more momentum. He just falls immediately. So if you want to use it in a tiger knee situation or whatever, which is still a little difficult because of how the game just reads buffer stuff. But yeah, he'll just follow just directly down to the ground. So I'll leave that for you if that's a buff or a nerf, but that's how it works now. So that's Benny. Isla, some changes that are a little harder to suss out just in training mode. Her push box got reduced. The push box is basically your collision box when the two characters interact. It's hard to math that out, honestly, but there you go. Now, stuff that is a bit easier. Stand light kick. Got a pretty sizable hitbox buff. Like, from this far, it would have absolutely whiffed before. Now, it connects. That's strong. That's good. Now, a fun thing here that's a straight buff is her slide, down forward heavy kick. The cancel version is now a true low. So before, well, you could just stand block it, right? Regardless of what it looked like, you could just stand block it. Now, regardless here of what you're doing here, if you're not crouch blocking, you're getting bopped. So that is a big buff. There's a couple things here where the wording is a bit weird on the patch, like two front. That's their big sliding forward kick if it connects, right? It says, for the regular and the EX version, reduced all recovery frames if it doesn't hit the opponent. But that's definitely not true, because there's definitely recovery frames at the end if I don't connect. So who knows? Maybe less is what they meant. But regardless, hopefully that is better. Her EX dive kick here, the damage of the initial hits is reduced. So it's now 10 per hit instead of 20, but the final hit now does 100, although after scaling it's 95 here, compared to the original 70. So overall, you should be doing a little bit more damage, hopefully anyways, especially if you don't get all the hits early on, then you'll definitely just be doing wildly more. And states that they gave her level 3 super a better hitbox. So there you go. So hard to say exactly where she's going to be. Isla is such a weird character compared to the rest of the cast. Honestly, I don't feel qualified to make judgment on this. So if you're an Isla main, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, Heidern. Oh my lord. I think Heidern's definitely going to be one of the big winners of the patch here. So first up, stand light kick, which is an amazing poke, is now special cancelable. So you can just go that into slashers, like you just toss out your sonic booms, as it were, right? So whatever you're looking to do special-wise, you can just poke with this and cancel into any special move. Very, very big deal. Also, stand heavy punch, which is a great normal. Fantastic normal. Is now 3 frames faster at 8 frames. Used to be 11. So move that covers, you know, the whole, you know, topper part of the screen here. Like you're not hopping against this punch, right? Now, all the better yet. Fantastic. Forward light kick here. The combo version is now less negative on block. That's great. That's fantastic. Crosscutter, the fireball, recovers quicker, which means he gets to throw more fireballs, and he's got a really good fireball, so pretty big buff. Moon Slasher, that's the flash kick, no longer has that weird property where depending on where you connect the move is how you get the damage. Now it just does its full damage all time, no matter where. Like if you hit from like this distance roughly before, you'd lose like 10, 15 damage. It would just suck. You just lost damage for no reason. Now you do full damage all the time. Big buff. Now on the flip, because one of the weird properties of the move, and this also will apply for the EX, it's basically much worse on block. Because before there was like basically no block stun. Like the frame data would be the frame data and would be punishable, but if you blocked it, you didn't have that little stop, right? So you could block, say, the EX version, and then like by the time you realize you blocked it, he could already move again because it didn't have that little screen slowdown. Now it does. So that's more fair, to be honest. How about more buffs? Stormbringer, heavy version, now does 50 damage on the initial hit. So it does 137 overall. Used to do 30 damage on the initial hit. So big buff. Stinger. So that's the little hand cannon here. So Stinger now has some hit stop. Very little, very little. But hopefully, ideally, it'll make it just a little bit easier to go into some supers, because it is just a little bit tricky for Heidern without you doing a bunch of, like, you know, input tricks to get some of his supers off. So hopefully that makes it a bit easier. The EX version, reduced combo scaling. What does that mean? It means now if you're doing it in combos, your combo will do more overall damage. Hey, so that's a straight buff, right? So if you're just looking to get whatever, say with the new and improved Stormbringer, you're going to blow up more damage. 313 off that. No, that's not bad, honestly. Now, one thing here, Heidern end. So that is the big hand stab. So if it gets blocked or whiffs, you have more recovery frames. Although ideally you should only be doing it when it will actually hit. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, Heidern, he's going to be doing more overall damage. He's going to be able to put out more fireballs per second overall. A lot of his basic stuff is better. man, Heidern, he's going to be shooting up the tier list, I think. Maybe not top tier or nothing, but he's definitely going to be a character to keep a watch out for. Now, Dolores could have got some more, I think, in my opinion. But close stand heavy kick, that's one of them out of the gate here. So close stand heavy kick is now special cancelable. So that is something. That definitely is something. Also says they gave her a better hitbox on the move. Jump light punch specifically is now a frame faster. Not necessarily her most used button, but I guess better than nothing. Her projectile is specifically light punch version, a bit more hit stop. So it should be able to get a bit easier to get your super cancels in. That's good. Also, the heavy version has less recovery. And this actually feels quite noticeable compared to how it was before. I don't know the exact numbers, but it feels like you have control of the character a fair bit quicker. This also applies for the heavy version. Now, the heavy version is inherently a slower move, but it does feel like you have a bit more recovery, or rather a bit less recovery. So you can use these a bit more without feeling paralyzed, like you lost control of your character. And both EX versions, both the closer version and the far version, now leave you, leave the enemy much closer to you. So before, in the older build, this enemy would be, close, but you wouldn't be directly on top of them. Now you're pretty much directly on top of them. Also for the EXs, says the second hit specifically has a better hitbox than it did before. So that one's a little harder to suss out. I'll take their word for it. But yeah, so definitely better, but I feel like Dolores could have got more than what she got. Kyo, let's start with the buff and a nerf. Stand heavy punch has a better hitbox. That's a buff. But can no longer whiff cancel. So before, if the move did not connect, you can immediately cancel it into a special move. So you basically got like a carrot cancel, if you will. You got moving forward with this, and then you cancel your special move. Now, no dice. The move just rocks by itself. Now, you can cancel after it hits, yes. That part hasn't changed. But you cannot just whiff the move and then use the forward momentum to carry the next special move forward. Close standing light kick, the recognition for the close is now expanded. So you can be a bit further away than you were before and still get the close part of it off. That's good. Can also be rapid canceled into other moves. So you can cancel the move once it connects into basically whatever else you can think of as far as lights go. Jumping light punch. The elbow. Now 2 frames faster. Used to be 6 frames, now 4 frames. So you probably think of some inventive dirty stuff with that. Also on the jumps, jump heavy punch. Now has more active frames. So the move is out for longer, basically. Doesn't say how many more, but has to be at least 1 more, right? Jump heavy kick. They want the jumps to be a lot better. Also a better hitbox. This one feels a bit more noticeable. I feel like before, I would not have connected with that. I would have whiffed a little bit, right? That one especially. So it feels better. Jump blowback. This stupid move. This one did get nerfed. So 12 frame startup instead of 10. So 2 frames slower than it was. Because it was a really ignorant move. Still is. The hitbox doesn't change or anything, right? So it's just a little bit slower. That's it. Red kick, heavy kick version, this guy here. Reduced recovery frames, meaning you can control him faster, so safer on block, all that kind of stuff. So his double kicks, these guys here. The hitbox is better on the second kick, is good, but it is much more death on block now. So the opponent is pushed back less than they were before, and they also recover faster than they were before. So if you do this in their face, and you can delay it and all that, it can be tricky all you want. Doesn't matter, you're gonna get blown up. Much the same for the EX version. If it connects and they block, you're donezo. Final big change here is his level 3 super now does more base damage, does 20 more damage overall, which should also affect the minimum damage it does. So that's good. So yeah, couple nerfs, but couple small buffs as well. Never been a Kyo guy myself, so if you got any strong feelings about it, please post it in the comments below. So Iori, one of the big changes out of the gate. Stand heavy kick is now the old ignorant button it used to be back in the older games. I know a lot of people complained, didn't feel like how it used to. Well, now it definitely does, because it's the button again. It hits from pretty ridiculously far ways away now. So the range buff on the hitbox, pretty big. Now expanded the hurt box too, yes, but if you're using it the way you should be, it won't be an issue. And on top of that, reduced recovery frames, so he recovers quicker. So that means you get to spam the boot more than ever. So Iori fans, welcome back to the game. And the good times keep on a-coming. Close stand light punch is 1 frame faster. 4 frames now from 5 frames. Jumping light punch, also 2 frames faster. 4 frame startup used to be 6 frames. The Rekka series, specifically the light punch ones, increase the opponent's hit stop, meaning it's just a little bit easier to hit confirm it on, connecting, right? So that just makes your life easier as Iori. Big changes to the half circle back kick. So first up here, more damage. So now it used to be the initial hit did 30. Now it does 60. Now the second hit does less damage, yes. But the way combo scaling works, front loading the damage is better. So this makes it do more overall damage combos. Also light kick version, which is just the run. So it says here that the recovery on it has been reduced across the board. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of weird gimmick or combo you can use involving the run or something. So head to the lab, figure it out. I'm sure it'll be fun. Also on the EX version, it's changed a bit too. So the second hit now does 100 damage, although when you see it here it says 95 because it's scaled, because it's the second hit of the combo. And also the least amount of damage it can do. So before, the least amount of damage a second hit could do was 16, at say the end of a long combo. Now the least amount of damage it can do at the end of a combo is 50. So substantial, right? So ending combos with the EX now a lot more viable. Some nerfs here, like a DP kick now builds less meter than it did before. That's fine. His Ranbu style super now, if it gets blocked, it'll have a lot more recovery frames. That's also happening for quite a few characters. That's fine. His sparkly supers, these guys here. So now the damage is just, well, being increased on them. So on the regular version, level 1 version, the damage on the last hit is up to 80. And if you want to use the max version, the damage on the last hit is also 80 from 70. So it's big buffs, more damage. So overall, Iori, he definitely did a lot better on the last major patch last time around. And now that he's got his footsies button back, on top of the other stuff, but the footsie button coming back is the big deal. Iori's going to be doing pretty good. He's going to be doing pretty well. Now, Chizuru, unlike Iori, her boot is getting nerfed. Her stand heavy kick was pretty oppressive. And so now what happens here is there's more of a hurt box. So before the actual attack connects, basically you're a lot more easier, a lot more reliable to hit her out of it before she goes for the boot. And it has a bit more recovery. So startup, frame data, hitbox, all that's the same. So it's still abusable, but the spam might be curtailed just a little bit. Crouching light punch says reduce recovery frames, although it doesn't say how much, but reduced recovery frames is always better, right? Her CD got nerfed, and once again, this is happening with a lot of characters. So less hitbox, more hurt box, that kind of stuff. Forward light kick, the Jokutsu Kang Kang. Now, like some other moves here, while it's in motion, it is now just invulnerable to low attacks. So if you're worried about getting poked out, this is now a good move to use to counter it. For her uppercut style moves, the clones now disappear faster. And also specifically on the heavy punch version, the opponent now has more block stun. Now here's a fun one. So cortical forward heavy punch. This guy here can now OTG, can hit people on the ground. Now it's not going to happen too many situations, but say off her seal super, there's no rolls, you can hit the enemy, get some free extra damage. That's good. Now speaking of the seal super, so her punch seal super, you can see the enemy's like glowing all strange. So that's one of her unique mechanics, is while you're sealed, you can't do special moves. That's a pretty big deal. So now they changed it here, the timer. So before, basically how the timer was calculated is now moved forward in Chizuru's favor. So overall, the enemy is now sealed for just a little bit longer than they were before. So Chizuru wound up being one of the better characters in the game. And honestly, considering the changes, I think she will remain one of the better characters in the game. Ash got a few buffs here, good quality of life changes. So one of them, close standing light punch, faster, 4 frames, used to be 5. That's good. Now one of the nerfs, Florial, that is his hop kicks. So the hop kicks now do less stun damage. So what does this mean? Well, the thing is, Ash was one of the few characters that could consistently get stun combos on people. Like, I'll empty hop low, and that might be the end of the game right there, even if he had full health, if I had 5 bars. because I'll get a full combo, there's a lot of damage into stun, and then I get to repeat it all over again once you're stunned, basically, right? So, now, ideally, this means they should not exist anymore, but we'll see. Because I remember they nerfed Joe stun, then he won't still wind up having like tons of stun combos anyways. So we'll see how that goes. But for Touch of Death off any hit Ash, that is a nerf. Now, a buff, so both the moves here are invulnerable to lows while the move is in motion. And they both have better hitboxes too. So that is a buff. His Heavy Fireball, that is the double version. So now also less stun value because they want to get rid of those stun combos. Has more chip damage. That is welcome. That is definitely nice. And also increases the guard crush damage. So the enemy will take more guard gauge damage now and a pretty decent chunk for trying to block the move. Also, this applies for the EX versions as well. They will do more guard gauge damage. Now, Nivose, that is his flash kick. The EX version specifically got quite a few changes. So one, and this is a pretty big one, it is now 4 frame startup from 6 frame startup. So safe jumps, all that kind of stuff, they got to be a lot tighter against Ash now because the move comes out a lot quicker. Expanded the hitbox on literally every single part of the move, so just easier to hit across the board. The very first hit does 70 damage now, used to be 50. Now on the flip, the second hit does 20 now from 40, but due to combo scaling and how that all works, you do overall more damage. That is to your benefit. His fireball traps also pretty decent buff because they do 20 more damage. So it used to be 50, now is 70. And this is for all the versions of the move. So a primary keep out tool doing more damage overall, definitely a buff. Also does more chip damage. Also the EX version does 90 damage now. It used to be 70, so that's also a damage buff. Also does more chip damage. Also does more guard crush value. So big buffs. Also, the hitbox is better too. So ideally, you should see this a lot more out of Ash now. His big fireball super, one of the interesting changes here, is if you hold back after you do the motion, it will now actually change the travel speed of the fireball. So that's held back. This is the regular one, which is a bit faster. It's not terribly noticeable. It's not like super slow, but still, more options is more better. Better hitbox, better chip damage, can no longer be reflected. I didn't know you could reflect the level 2 version. That'd be messed up. I'd be very unhappy if that happened to me. I didn't even know it was possible. But regardless, now it is no longer possible. So just some nice quality of life buffs for it. Sans Culotte, that is the party starter super where kind of everything happens. So it is now more invulnerable startup. That is good. But the minimum amount of damage it can do now is lowered. So before, no matter how big the combo was, it always did 150 at minimum. Now it'll always do 100 at minimum. So that means the old Touch of Death Ash off any random button, along with a lot of these other changes, is definitely nerfed. So Ash, I guess you could say he's becoming more of a real character, if you will. Less about all getting that one touch when you have tons of meter to back it up, and more about just expanding the rest of his gameplay. But you know, for some people, the gimmick is what they want, so that could be definitely a nerf to you, but I'll leave it to you to decide. Elizabeth is basically just a bunch of incremental changes. For the most part, definitely to her benefit. Let's just go over it. So 1, stand heavy punch. This guy here. Now 8 frames, used to be 10 frames, so it's better. Also, better hitbox as well. And for special cancels, they increased the window. So, straight buffs there. Close standing heavy kick. Made it a better hitbox. That's good. Now here's a nerf. Crouch light kick. So her crouch light kick hitbox is now worse. Now, you can still do what you want to do with it, so it's not going to matter too much in the end, but technically it is a nerf. Crouching heavy kick, her sweep, now has less recovery frames, so better on block, better just all around. Jumping light punch is now a frame faster. Used to be 5 frames, is now 4 frames. And a bunch of her jumps here are kind of changed up here. So jump heavy punch now has a better hitbox and reduced hurtbox before it starts up, so it's harder to knock her out of the move while she's doing it. Jumping heavy kick here. Also, this is now kind of the flip. So expanded the hurtbox before it starts up here. And also expanded the hurtbox after the attack startup. So basically, when it comes to jump-ins, they're trying to tell you, use jump heavy punch more, use jump heavy kick less. Like many other characters, CD the blowback got nerfed. So reduced distance traveled forward. Expanded the hurt box as well. Now the hitbox is better going down, but it's not as good going up. Kind of basically, it's easier to smack her out of it, basically, long story short. Her forward and A command normal. Increased hit stop on connect. So basically it's easier to cancel into supers because you have just, you know, a few more frames of animation to hit confirm into. Her oddball fireballs, because they don't quite go the full screen, right? The EX version specifically. Now, if you hit forward or back, it now changes the range, as you can see right there. So this is the regular version. Now, if I hold forward, second hit connects, and if I hold backwards, it goes where the first one would. So you have some level of control now over the fireballs. So pretty handy. As for the regular versions of the fireballs, they have more stun value and more guard crush value and less recovery frames. So meaning they're better on block and they're just better all around the throat and spam. Coup de vent, that's her uppercut. This is specifically the light punch version. Now is 12 frame startup from 14. So just better, faster startup. Illusion, that is her counter, has now changed up a bit here. So the hitbox for physical attacks for the base versions is just better. And there is a change where it can no longer activate on attacks that like come from behind. So like weird hitbox situations and you still get the counter off, not going to happen. So her quarter circle back punch here, this guy here, some significant changes because it is no longer an overhead. So if the enemy is crouching and they block, they still get the block. It's a mid now. So stand block, speed it, crouch block, speed it. On the flip as well, it is now slower. So it used to be 22 frames, is now 26 frames, but it has more pushback on block and also reduced recovery. As you can see here, it is plus on block. So no more overhead, it's blockable mid, but now it's plus on block. So make of that what you will. Now here's one. So her level 3 super, they decreased the minimum guaranteed damage. So Betty was in the club where no matter how long the combo was, the minimum damage she would do was very high. Now the minimum damage is 240 versus 290. She's considered a pretty decent character, right? Like bad characters like Maxima, right? They have high minimum damage on their level 3. So that's only for them now. You know, you'll still get a good chunk of change, don't get me wrong, right? But the minimum overall damage is less now at the end of a long combo. Kukri, not too many changes, although first one's interesting here. When he's running, he's reduced hurt box, meaning he's actually harder to hit now while he's running. So you might be able to sneak under a couple things. We'll wait and see on that one, I guess. Close standing light punch, like many other characters, now 4 frames from 5 frames. That's a buff. Also, like many other characters, jumping light. Now 4 frames, used to be 6. Now here's a fun one. Jump heavy punch is now special cancelable. So you can bop him with the double overhead and see how that works. Definitely can trick a lot of people with that. Fusaken, that is forward and A. This guy here. So reduced all recovery frames. This is the normal version though, not the cancel version, FYI. But the normal version, reduced recovery frames, so better on block, better on whiff, all that kind of stuff. His grounded heavy kick flip here, this guy here. 2 changes. 1, it is now 32 frames instead of 35, so it's just a bit faster. And this move is an advantage on block move, and it now pushes back the enemy less than it did before. So you're more able to take advantage of those plus frames. Very, very good. That is to your benefit. His level 2 Sandside super, this guy here. So if you do it as a cancel from another super, so a level 1 to a level 2, it now has much faster startup time, meaning a lot more possibilities are available to you. Also his level 3 super, so when done as a cancel, the hitbox is also expanded, so it's just that much easier to connect. So super into super across the board is better. So not too many changes for Kukri, but some interesting changes. Okay, Krohnen. I know a lot of you guys skipped to hear them with the timestamps, right? So Krohnen, what's up with Krohnen? Well, there is some buffs to go through first. Stand light kick, this guy here, can now be canceled into command normals. And that is a true combo, by the way. So, you know, that's nice, I guess. Now, far standing heavy kick, increased attack frames, meaning it's more active. It's just out there for longer. That's also a buff. Close standing light kick, 4 frame startup from 7. So that is also a buff. His sweep is now 8 frames from 10. Also moves forward just a little bit. That's also a buff. Oh my God, is it all buffs for Krohnen? No. Okay, now let's start talking some of the nerfs. Crouch heavy punch here, this guy. So is now 3 frames slower. 12 frames used to be 9. Also has a worse hurt box, so it's easier to smack him out of it while he's doing it. So that is definitely a nerf. His emergency slide, the cancel version, when you're doing like off strings or whatever, that is now much more negative as the opponent recovers quicker on block. Light Strike Slash leaves the opponent closer on block than they did before. So if you're trying to do stuff like that's probably going to get you punished now when it wouldn't before. So watch out. So now the nerfs. Let's start with one of the big ones. DP can no longer hit things behind him. In fact, he'll just get smoked. That's massive because before, like especially with EX, like that's a full combo right there, right? Now he actually just loses. So you actually have to properly space your reversals with the heat shield. So little less brain dead on that. All the versions, more recovery, more, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like it's worse on block. The EX version now launches up and away. Before it would launch straight up. So what does this mean? It means if you want to do some of the old combos, they don't exactly work no more. Like, yeah, they'll work fine in the corner still, but mid-screen, not so much. And that's, of course, where a lot of the issue came, is Krohnen can get a lot of damage mid-screen in situations no other character could. Of course, now, you know, some buffs, like the initial hit of the EX actually does more damage, does 115 now from 85. So they're not taking everything away, but a lot of the stupid stuff, like once again here, before, I'd get half your life off that. Now I actually lose. So, some other buffs. His EX Flame actually OTGs now. So if you're just looking for a little bit extra damage, it's there. Level 2 Fusion Blaster to get max damage now takes more time. That's another nerf. Once again, Krohnen has been running this game for a long time. So the nerfs are very warranted. But in the end, yeah, he's going to do a bit less damage for sure. And some of the more brain dead options just no longer work. But I still think Krohnen's going to be all right in the end. He's just not going to be, you know, top 1 with a bullet. Kula, another top tier terror, definitely been taken down a peg. Stuff like her poke, stand light kick, reduced hitbox. So you can't be as far away as you were to connect. Also more recovery frames overall. So worse on block, worse on whiff. Stuff like stand heavy punch though. Stand heavy punch is actually faster. So, you know, lose one footsie button, gain another. 13 frames used to be 15, so 2 frames faster. Jumping heavy kick, this guy here, now 2 frames slower. So used to be 6 frames, is now 8 frames. Also, they took the edge off the hitbox just a little bit. So it'll now whiff in situations where it would connect before. Much the same here, CD. A lot of characters are getting a change, a lot of them are getting nerfed. Hers hitbox is worse, but keep in mind the hitbox is still really good. You're going to be hitting from further away than most characters could ever dream. So, you know, take that one with a grain of salt. It's worse, but it's still better than most of the cast. Her uppercuts, so light uppercut, crow bite, now has increased recovery frames on block or whiff. So if it doesn't connect, or it does connect and they get blocked, you're probably going to get bopped for it. On the flip here, the heavy version, now 5 frame startup from 4 frames, so it's a little bit slower. Her breath gains much less meter now. This is the light version specifically. So watch out for that. Also, a buff, it actually destroys projectiles easier now, it says. The hitbox for destroying projectiles is better. So that is something. But yeah, this is not going to build meter for free no more. Also the same here. Ray spin, heavy kick version, builds less meter. And the EX version, so we got some nerfs here. So the hits used to be 40 and 40, is now 30 and 30, so less damage. Reduced knockback distance on block, meaning they block it, they're now directly beside you. See that frame data says negative, negative? Because you're probably going to get bopped. Because the recovery frames are also increased, and the follow-ups, all that kind of stuff, if they block it, you cannot do any follow-up. So basically, if you're the kind of person who's not good with their hit confirms, and they block, well, you're all the way going to be done now, because there's nothing you can do to save yourself. To be fair, this is mostly a nerf for sloppy players. If you're on the ball, you would never hit confirm into it anyways, ideally anyways, unless you're going crazy. So, not that much of a nerf in the end. Now, flip here, a buff, so the projectile from it does 80 damage now from 40, so that's good. Although, on the flip a nerf, The slide does 30 damage now from 40. So if it connects, you're going to do less damage, but of course you get combos, so whatever. Snowman, though, is better. She actually recovers quicker now from Snowman. So this might make this move a lot more viable. This is regular and EX. And her slide super here, just a little bit better. Level 1, better hitbox. Level 2, more invincibility. And that's about it. So honestly, Kula, I think she's still perfectly fine. Like, a little bit of the edge razored off just a little bit, you know, sanded down, I guess. But I still think Kula is a perfectly strong character. So if your friend's dropping Kula after this patch, call him a fraud for me. So Angel / Anel, you guys always give me crap for how I pronounce it. But then I always get like 5 different conflicting answers on how to pronounce it. So that doesn't help me. So Anel it is. Stand Heavy Kick. 3 frames faster. Is now 8 frame startup. Used to be 11. So strict big buff there. Now here's a fun one, Red Sky. So that's like kind of the rushing forward hit grab. Does more damage, 100 damage, used to do 80. That's a strict buff. Now one thing that's worse is it's slower. 25 frame start now from 21, but there's a reason, because reduce the recovery on block. Okay. But the thing is it's reduced all the way, because it's plus on block now. So yeah, it should be just a little bit slower. So better damage on hit, and you now have a plus on block move that rushes from like the whole screen away. Pretty handy. So the Unchained system here, it's got a couple changes. This is her Rekka series that she's very famous for. Back forward kick, this guy here, now has an EX version. It does the same damage as the regular version, so not too sure about that. I'm not an expert on the character, but it is an option on the table now. That's something. Hammer Blow, that's forward and punch when you're in your Unchain. Now if you use it in a combo, less combo scaling, so you'll do overall more damage. That's good. The Unchain Rolling Finisher, this guy here, is no longer an overhead. So that's definitely different, right? But now it has better combo scaling when it hits mid-air opponents. Reduce combo scaling as well, so you do more overall damage when you're doing it. And now here's an important one. Before the final blow of the move, you can actually now super cancel it. So that's pretty interesting and probably will open up a bunch of new combo routes. Big change as far as the supers go. So her rush super can now be advanced canceled, which means you can now go into the counter super and get more damage, which is really good. And also the counter super is got some changes as well. So the regular version now active frame 1, so we can use it as a real counter. That's good. Better hitbox, more active frames, all that kind of stuff. Much the same here, the level 2 version. Better hitbox, more active frames, yada yada. So it's better as an actual counter, and now you can use it as, you know, added damage in your combos. So just gives her a lot more reach as far as damage goes with her meter. If I remember right, she could already do this in King of Fighters 14. Don't quote me on that, I guess, but now she can do it in King of Fighters 15. Now let's talk Yashiro. Yashiro got run through the ringer. Stand Light Punch, worse hitbox. Stand Heavy Punch, worse hitbox. Also more of a hurt box as well, and more recovery frames. Crouch Light Punch, worse hitbox. That sucks, that's a big button for him, right? Crouch Light Kick, now 7 frames, used to be 5, so 2 frames worse than it was before. Crouch Heavy Punch does not go as far as it used to. Also more recovery frames. At least, though, it still links into some of his other buttons, so that wasn't taken away. So you can still do, like, close light into it and get, like, whatever combo. So that part still remains the same, at least. Jump Light Kick, at least get something here. So this is 5 frames now. Used to be 8, so 3 frames faster. Also reduced the hurt box, so it's harder to hit him out of it. That's something. But now Jump Heavy Punch, this guy here. So reduced the hitbox and expanded the hurt box. So harder for him to hit, but easier to get hit out of. Although I don't think it's really crippled, but it's going to lose some of its effectiveness. His CD, like so many other characters, less hitbox, although not too much less. It still connects from a decent way away. And while you're starting up, the hurt box is worse, meaning it's easier to hit him out of it while he's doing it. Jump Blowback as well here. So that's stand. This is jump. So jump blowback, which is a really good button, increase the hurt box before the move comes out, meaning before the move actually connects, it's easier to smack him out of it. Other changes to nerf sloppy play. So the bash special here on EX or regular, the opponent is like directly beside you now. On block, there is no pushback at all, so don't do this move on block, you'll die. Same with uppercut style moves here, so upper duel, like the opponent doesn't even move basically if you block, so you will die if you do this move on block. Don't do it on block. Much the same here, the EX version. There's no safety on any move on block anymore, not even a little bit. EX upper duel is now basically a pure reversal. You can't follow up after it really, but it's now full invulnerable to throws. There's a lot more active guard point frames on it, so it's good as a reversal, but like as a combo tool or getting any follow-ups, not so much anymore. Jet counter, so light punch version. Now the enemy is closer to you on block than before. The heavy punch version, they're now closer to you with reduced recovery frames, so you're plus on block. So that is good because, you know, you got to be close to take advantage of those plus frames. If they're pushed back, it doesn't really matter, right? So that is changed up. The follow-up for jet counter light punch version, there is no more pushback at all. So it is very negative. You will get blown up if it gets blocked. Although the attack itself is faster. It's 12 frames now, used to be 14, so that is above. Much the same here, the heavy punch follow-up. They're closer to you on block. Like, basically, a lot of these things for Yashiro is just, there's no more safety in a lot of your specials, right? You're gonna have to actually properly space everything. And finally, sledgehammer light kick version is now 2 frames slower. 26 frames now, used to be 24. So Yashiro eating a lot of nerfs for sure. Now, Shermie, considered a higher tier character, maybe not top tier like Krohnen or Yashiro or something. So she got some nerfs as well, although I think she'll still be okay in the end. So some small things here. Close standing light punch. Reduced all recovery frames on hit. Now crouch heavy punch. This is a pretty big nerf. So 7 frames from 5 frames. So 2 frames slower. And also the hitbox is a bit worse. So as an anti-air, it's not as good. And also it means she lost her links, because she used to be able to get this like off crouch light punch and it'd be a natural 2-hit combo. Now, not really, not anymore. That sucks. Her sweep. So the sweep has an expanded hurt box, easier to hit her, and increased recovery. So just worse all around, really. Jumping heavy punch. This is where Shermie makes her millions, right? So jumping heavy punch has a bigger hurt box, so it's easier to hit her out of it. Also an expanded push box, which in my testing, the move mostly works the way it always sort of did, right? So I don't know about that, but you know, having a worse hurt box always is a straight nerf. Jump blowback, jump CD. This guy here expanded hurt box before the attack starts. So once again, just like a jump heavy punch, it's easier to hit her out of it before it begins. Now here's a buff. So Shermie Whip. So Shermie Whip, the regular version of Shermie Whip, now actually will do more overall damage. So the initial hit does 40 now, and the final hit will do 50. But as far as like combo scaling goes, front loading your damage means more damage overall. And they gave it a follow-up. So like many other moves, she could follow up with the knee stomp. And now, like older King of Fighters, she can now follow this up with the knee stomp as well. Because, you know, as it stands, if you weren't doing this with a super, you just flung them across the screen, you had to run your way back in, right? So now, if you're not gonna super, you might as well, honestly, just because it'll keep you close to the enemy. And you get more damage. EX version as well. So the EX version can also be followed up with the Shermie Cute. So more damage, almost 200 for one EX. That's a good chunk of change, right? Also, if you use it in a combo, the combo scaling is relaxed a bit. So you'll do more overall damage. So to your benefit. Shermie clutches also got changed a bit. So that's the light kick version. It says reduced all recovery frames on hit and increase the opponent's down duration. So this means almost certainly you're going to get more Oki, more pressure, a bare minimum, like, you know, cross-up setups and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure. So that'll be fun to explore with. And the heavy kick version does more damage, does 140 now, used to do 120, and much the same here like before. Less recovery on hit, increased down duration for the enemy. So overall, Shermie definitely got nerfed. I'm not gonna lie, right? Shermie overall is nerfed, but I don't think she'll be bad. Like, the core game plan you played with Shermie will still, for the most part, be the same. Maybe a little less effective in certain places, but yeah, Shermie is still Shermie. So if you like this character, there's no real reason to drop her. Like, I'm not gonna drop her, so It sucks that she got nerfed, because she definitely wasn't one of the top 5 or nothing. But it's livable. You can deal with it. So Yashiro 8 nerfs, Shermie 8 nerfs. What about Chris? Is Chris the last standing member of Team Orochi? Well, he got some buffs to start off with here. Stand, light, kick, this guy here. 2 frames faster. So 6 frames now instead of 8. So much more valuable as a poke. Close light punch. Reduced all recovery frames, so he's Mega Plus after it connects. So now no problem linking into like stand heavy punch or something into a combo. That's good. Now we got a nerf. Crouch heavy punch, this guy here. This is a double hitter. So increased attack startup. So used to be 5 frames is now 6, so it's 1 frame slower. And increased all recovery frames. So that makes it worse on block, it makes it worse on whiff, worse all around. Now on the flip, we get a buff. Jump light punch is now special cancelable. So he can go into dive kicks or anything he can think of as long as it's airborne. Very interesting. Jump heavy kick also ate a nerf. So reduced attack hitbox and increased the hurtbox. So it's basically harder for him to hit, and it is easier for you to hit him out of the move. His forward A, the cancel version specifically, is now 2 frames faster at 11 frames. Used to be 13. So maybe you might be able to inch it into certain combos you couldn't do before. Forward and B, this guy here, the cancel version specifically, now has a better hitbox. That's good. There might be certain situations where it could have barely whiffed before. Hopefully it will no longer whiff. The dive kick. So light dive kick. This is cortical forward and light kick in the air. So the light version is now faster. So it's 13 frame startup now from 15. That's good. But on the flip here, the EX version is now a little bit worse because increased all recovery frames on block or whiff. So no matter what, it's worse on block, worse on whiff, worse kind of all around. So you better believe in it, basically. Shooting Dancer Thrust, that is cortical back and punch. So the knockback is increased on hit only, not on block. And Shooting Dancer Step, this is the EX version, this guy here. So Shooting Dancer Step, increase the window where you can follow it up with your dive kick. That's good. So the window was a little tight before, so now not so much. So you can still botch it, right? You can still like completely whiff your dive kick, but the window is a little bit more generous, so that is handy. Scramble Dash, this is sort of like his mini teleport, if you will, a little hop teleport. So the EX version, if it passes by the enemy, now the attack is automatically triggered no matter what. If you do not connect at all, you now have increased recovery frame, and unfortunately, they have taken away the projectile invincibility. So now it's basically the quick gimmick cross-up move. And his slap super, now the first hit will hit further out than it did before. This is for regular and max version. But yeah, so overall, Chris got a couple nerfs. I don't really know why, but, you know, of the 3 characters, I wouldn't say he was the problem, to say the least, right? But there it is. He also got some buffs too, so take it, you know, with a grain of salt. But yeah, that's Chris. K-Dash, we got some interesting changes here. First, this far standing light punch now can chain into standing light kick. So, you know, more options, more better, right? That's good. Close standing light kick is now a true low. So if you are attempting to block it, you must crouch it. Before it was just a mid. Now it is a proper low. Very good. Jumping light punch, and this is the case for a lot of characters, got a lot faster. 4 frames from 8. So it is literally twice as fast startup as it used to be before. Now, here's where one of the game changers is. So 1-inch punch is forward and A. Specifically, the cancel version. You might notice that's comboing, eh? Because it is now 3 frames faster than it used to be. So if you want to do it off lights or whatever, now you totally can. Of course, you got to be in distance, right? You know, 1 inch of 1-inch punch, so you can't be too far away. But yeah, so it gives some real sass to some of his lights. Like, you can always just do, you know, lights in the special or whatever, but now he can get a little bit more dedicated. Something like that. I don't know. I'm no K-Dash expert, right? But thanks to the fact that 1-inch punch can connect now, when you're point blank, not too far away, lets you go into more, you know, slower, more advanced, heavier juggles like this, and from which point you can get your combo on, right? A lot more advanced than the old triple light into Iron Trigger, right? So that's good. Other buffs as well. So knee assault, that's forward and light kick. This is getting a better hitbox. That's good. Heavy version of Iron Trigger now knocks back less than it did before. So heavy leaves them standing. Light knocks them down. The follow-up of Crowbite can no longer hit a standing, grounded opponent. So only if you catch them in the air with a juggle. Minute Spike does 120 damage now, the heavy kick version, from 90. So 30 damage more, just straight big buff. Chain Drive is Rush Super, says expanded hitbox on the second hit. So I guess potentially dealing with some whiff issues. But yeah, not a lot of changes, but all very welcome changes for K-Dash. He's doing pretty okay. Maxima, one of my personal favorites. He's got some pretty good changes. Close standing heavy punch, better hitbox, good. He needs it. It's a normal he builds a lot of his game plan off of. Crouching heavy kick now has a guard point. So if you're looking to beat people in the War of Lows, you can now add this to your arsenal because, well, as long as you time it correctly, right? You will now just guard point through it, laugh it off, easy peasy, good stuff. The Vapor Cannons, that's the big old punch. So light punch version says reduced the recovery frames on hit or block, which means it's less negative. So it used to be negative if you look at the frame data. Now it's just negative, like a single one. So it's anywhere from -1 to -3. And the heavy version reduced all recovery frames. So now it is plus. Before it was just regular plus. Now it's not wildly more plus. It's like anywhere from like +4, +5, +6 now. But at least maybe you can do something with it. Like if I do this and like step 4 and hit a button, I can be reasonably assured I'll win. So that is something. That is a buff. Blitz Cannon, that is the air grab. Less recovery on when it connects. So basically you can just start walking right away and hopefully get maybe some pressure setups. We'll have to wait and see and lab that out. Maxima Press, heavy kick version, now faster. So this is the running version of the grab. It is now 26 frame startup, you know, if you're point blank, versus 31. It is slow, but you'll still catch people sleeping, so it's handy to have. Now here's a very, very big one. The Maxima charges. These are the shoulder charges introduced to King of Fighters 15. So the light charge is now 2 frames faster. 11 frame startup versus 13, which means stuff like this is now possible. Never was possible before. Could never connect before. Much the same here. Say you're a little pushed out. You just go for like jab, jab into a special. That connects. Would not connect before. Before Maxima, if he wanted to get like basic hit confirms, he 100% had to spin bar. That was just how it was. End of story. Like if you want to be further out, you had to spin bar to get a follow-up. But now you can just do a special move just like just about everyone else in the game, right? So that is great. Heavy charge. Heavy charge now has better guard frames. So if the opponent is just coming in looking to attack you, you have more guard point frames. So it's easier just to armor through everything. Much the same, the EX version, also more guard point frames. Vapor Cannons, the super versions, are now no longer have any guard points, which is bad, but they are now full invulnerable, full invincible. That's very good. And also both of them got a damage buff. Fantastic. The lasers, both of them got a damage buff. Also fantastic. That means, you know, basic combo for Maxima, which already hurt by anyone's standards, now extra hurt. And his level 3, no more guard points, just full invincible. Just like pretty much every other level 3. So, yeah. Basically, nothing but straight buffs for Maxima. It's not going to put him to top tier or nothing, but it definitely helps him. He's been languishing, so now he's just more viable of a character because he can play the same game everyone else can play when it comes to this, you know, the basics, which is very good. And a lot of his other stuff that he usually does is just a little bit better. Whip, some interesting changes. So stand light kick is now special cancelable. Now her specials are a little slower, so you know, you're gonna have to get creative with the special cancelable stuff, right? But it is there. You can now special cancel it. So at bare minimum, like poking the special will be more viable. Standing heavy punch. The second hit now has expanded out because there's a lot of situations where you could get the first hit and the second hit would completely whiff. So now, no, it's just, as far as I can tell, always going to connect, right? The second hitbox is now just further out than the first one. So that's good. Crouch, light punch, which is different than most other characters because it's a long range poke. Now is 10 frame startup from 13. So 3 frames faster. That just makes it strictly better. Vertical jump, heavy kick. She is a character where her jumping back and forward attacks are different than her vertical jump. So her vertical jump kick is now 6 frames from 11, so almost twice as fast. Her strength shot kick version is now stated here, the opponent's guard recovery is increased, so it is even more plus on block than it was before. So it is undebatably your turn, so do whatever you want, because if they try to hit something, they're going to get smacked. Her air flips, this is a cortical back and punch, can now be triggered from backward jumps. That's really interesting. So if you want to backwards jump, or if you want to backdash into it, any sort of back thing, and you can also tiger knee it, although it is difficult. Anything going backwards, that all works now. So lead to interesting gimmicks for sure. Also Swatter, that's her moves, that's an overhead that also destroys projectiles. It is now better at destroying projectiles, both the regular and EX versions. Expanded projectile counter hitbox, so it'll just do what it does better. So not a lot of changes, but pretty much across the board, just all positive changes. So she's doing pretty okay. Antonov. So Antonov, as usual, they're scared to make him a real character. He got buffs, but they could have done a lot more. Fire standing heavy kick. That's the big boy here. Reduced the recovery frames. So he recovers quicker once the move is complete. That is good. Close standing heavy kick. Again, this is like the 3rd time they've done it, I think. Expanded the hitbox of the attack. Because, you know, situations where you get like your hit confirm and you want to go for a quick max and then, you know, go for combos, all that kind of stuff. That can whiff. And, well, frankly, it can still whiff depending on the distance, right? Like, you can still botch it. So, you know, buyer beware. You still got to time your hit confirms a bit, but at the very least, it should be better than what it was. Forward A, and this is both the regular version and the cancel version. It states that the cancel window is better, so that's like going into specials. That is very good. That's handy. Very handy. And reduced all recovery frames, which is, I don't think is correct. Because it's definitely super hyper punishable on block regardless of what you do, just like it always was. So don't go too crazy on that. The fake out version of his air slam now says reduce the recovery frames. So better for fake outs where, you know, you just go for like this and the hop and like grab or something like that. And maybe might enable some new tricks, but time will tell on that. EX Whale Stream says altered the opponent's behavior on hit. And as far as I can tell, all it is, it just leaves them a little bit closer. Like before, we're knocking them all the way across the screen. Now it just knocks them most of the way across the screen. For the uppercuts, increase the window for you to cancel into the slam fake out. So that is nice. Gigantic back, that is the shoulder. So it says increase the opponent's guard recovery. And best I can tell, when you perfectly space it, which is difficult, but when you perfectly space it, you can make it completely even on block now. Before it would always have to be like a little bit negative. So no perfect spacing and your plus on block or anything like that, like, you know, some other big moves in some other games, but better than nothing, I suppose. And that's it. So Antonov, you know, if you want to play Antonov, you're a true hero in my books, but definitely not climbing up the tier list anytime soon. Ramon. So everyone's been also wondering about Ramon. Ramon and Krohnen, I think, are like 2 of the characters people are interested out because, you know, top of the tier list and bottom of the tier list, right? So first up, stand heavy punch is now special cancelable. So that's great. More tools in the toolbox. Fantastic. Close standing light punch is now 4 frame startup instead of 5. So a frame faster, that's good. Also close standing heavy punch, also a frame faster, is now 5 frames, used to be 6. That's good. Close standing heavy kick, more active frames, increase the special cancel window, so if you want to go into whatever special move, and reduce recovery frames, so just better all around. Crouching light punch, is keeping the party going here, is now 4 frame startup from 5. So good. Drop kick. This guy here, the command normal, so now 12 frame startup, used to be 16, so 4 frame faster. That's pretty significant. So here's the big one, hoist. So off various moves, he has the hoist and can bring you up, right? Gives you a little tap in the head, brings you up. So hoist reduced the recovery frames. What this means here is hoist, as you can see here, we're now slightly advantage after the move connects. So after this, you do it, you know, say you did in the combo, whatever, and then you end it with the hoist, it's still your turn. for the most part. Now you're not exactly point blank with the enemy afterwards. There's a little bit of distance, so it's not like you can threaten to throw or anything, but it's definitely better than nothing. So you can always have some plus frames to work with. Hey, real quick, this is a Roofamonger from the future while I'm editing the video. And I've been editing this video for so long. But one thing I missed with Ramon at the start, which I'm going to tell you now, which is a pretty big deal, is about the restand. So yeah, that restand. What I didn't realize at first, but when I was going through the Clark section, which made me remind me one of Clark's traits is he can leave you standing just barely plus in front of his face and he can combo into his grab. And turns out it works exactly the same now for Ramon. So if you want to do the EX grab, that's a natural combo now after the plus restand. So to give you a baby basic idea of a combo, so that all works. You can't get a second restand off the flip, that'd be too much. But yeah, as long as you get one restand, if you're willing to burn a little meter, you can combo into EX grab, and then it's a true hard knockdown and get another stomp after the fact. So damage going up. Now, back to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. On that note here, Heavy Kick Sobat, this guy here, which is where you get a lot of your follow-ups and can get hoist from, now has reduced combo scaling. So your combos using this will do overall more damage. Not a lot more, but more damage in the end. Now, EX Sobat causes a crumple state, so you can just do whatever you want after the fact. So now that you have stuff like, you know, a special cancelable stand heavy punch, all that kind of stuff, it has been toned down just a little bit. So increased all recovery frames on block or whiff. So basically, if the move gets blocked, you are done like dinner. Simple as that. Tiger Load, that is the wall run where he runs to the wall and just goes forward, can now be canceled into Birds of Paradise. That is the flip over kick. And this also goes for the EX version as well. Feint Dash, so this is when you cancel out the dash, has a hitbox, can now hit airborne people, and also does not knock people back as far. So before, I'm pretty sure it was sending like flying across the screen basically, now not as much. So potential for combos is definitely there where it might not have been before. Now, Feint Step, so this is the one where you can walk back and forward and do a drop kick. The EX version said it altered the opponent's behavior on counter hit. What this means is it's full-on wall bounce now. So if you catch someone whiffing with this move, you can get a lot off of it. And who knows, maybe you can get all tricky and use your feint cancel to juggle in the air now that you can do that, right? So yeah, that's kind of a big deal. If you feel confident you're going to catch a button, getting a full-on wall bounce and just doing whatever you want to do after the fact, that's kind of good. Birds of Paradise itself also reduced the recovery frames. You're still kind of stuck for a while after you land, but it's something, I guess. And keep in mind too, this is a move you can do hoist from. So you can pick them up and get your free plus frames, all that kind of stuff. So now that you can do that on new situations, less recovery, better hoist, all that kind of stuff, just better all around. His Rush Super here, it says altered behavior when canceling from the rolling Sobat. That is the big spin kick. So far as I can tell, it just makes it way quicker, and like so it'll never drop. That's my guesstimation anyways. But yeah, overall, Ramon, once again, doing good with the buffs. Pretty much across the board, all positive. But is it enough? That's always the question, right? Is it enough? Is he this game's Anji Mito where he gets buff after buff after buff and always seems to wallow in the end, right? So big buffs, yes. I'll let you be the judge if they're enough in the end. King of Dinosaurs got some pretty substantive buffs here. So 1, close standing light punch. Now has less recovery frames. Good, great even. Now here's a big one. Close standing heavy kick is now a launcher. Like just straight up, it's a launcher. So that's kind of a big deal. Because, you know, a bare minimum goes into the air grab, and the air grab, the EX version also has more range, by the way. And the damage off even something as basic as this is pretty titanic for a 2-hit combo, right? So yeah, reinventing all combo routes for sure. Like, this change alone is such a big deal. Very, very, very big. Crouching heavy punch also got some pretty big buffs. So reduced all recovery frames on hit, that's good. Added an attack hitbox during parts of the move where there was none. And to me, this is like what saves, like right there, that would have missed 1000% before in the old patch. He still can't all the way hit people behind him, right? But now it's not a guarantee if they're any kind of close, they'll just guaranteed go behind your back, right? So much more valuable as an anti-air at bare minimum, because people just won't slip behind you. Also, the cancel window has been increased, so this is for special moves, command normals as well. And keep in mind too, this move forces standing. So on hit, even if they're crouching, it will go into his back light punch, so that's handy. His heavy grab, the guard point on it now triggers on frame 1. So this is basically a true wake up. You can use it as an anti-air, you can use it while you're waking up and they're pressuring you, all that kind of stuff. This is a proper defensive option now. You will always be able to armor through something with this grab. That is fantastic. Also, the EX grab, the range is like, I don't know, I'd say like 20% more, 25% more. Like, you're not going to go crazy with it, but you're definitely going to be able to snag people from further out than you ever could before. This is effectively an unreactable grab. No one's ever going to see it, assess, and react in time to what it is. They're going to see a yellow flash, and by the time they process even the color, they're already grabbed. So making this even further range, big benefit for the character. Heavy Ankleo Hammer. This is this guy. So the second hit specifically, if you do it against someone on the ground, it changes how things work. So if we break the move, because you can hit a button and basically just not get the third hit, we can land a stand heavy kick after that. And keep in mind, stand heavy kick is a special cancelable move. So now, if you catch someone in the corner with just some basic lights, right? All of a sudden, we can get like 400 for a bar. It's pretty okay. Especially, you know, just off lights, right? Nothing fancy. Because once again, we launch, and the OTG launches them up, and we got more range on the EX air grab, all that kind of stuff. It just all sorts of works out in his favor. Also, as an added bonus, keep in mind that a lot of moves you can tech roll in this game, right? His EX Ankleo Hammer is not one of those moves, so if you land, you know, mid-screen, it's a true hard knockdown, so that means... So this means it also buffs his mid-screen potential pretty decently, because you can just wait and then launch him up with the thing, right? So mid-screen stuff, you can do that as well, right? You just dash forward just a smidge and then OGG him, go from there. I don't know, there's going to be a lot of new inventive stuff you can do. And finally, his grab supers, both the level 1 and level 2 versions, can now be level 3 canceled. So if you're playing Dino on mid or anchor and he has the bar to do it, you know, the damage is there, right? So that was 4 bars, sure, but 4 bars when you're blocking, you know, you get grabbed, 600 damage, that's not bad at all. So it gives him a bit of reach because, you know, the basic grabs are great and all, but they can't be special or rather super canceled. So you only get whatever damage you get off the grab, nothing else. So you can't turn it into 600 damage. Now, you want to sneak in that grab? You totally can. So not a lot of changes for Dino, but they're all great changes. Dino might actually move up the tier list just a bit now, because these changes work out great for him. Now, Leona's got some of the biggest change lists here of anybody. Out of the gate, her dash, she moves faster. She's already pretty quick, and now is even faster yet. Her Shatter Strike, this guy here, reduced recovery frames. So she recovers quicker than she did before. That's pretty unique. Far Standing Light Kick, this guy here, better hitbox and expanded the hurt box, so, you know, whatever. But generally speaking, that is a net buff. Far Standing Heavy Punch also has a better hitbox, so pokes for Leona are just better. Close Standing Heavy, the double kicks. Now the enemy is not pushed back as far as they were before. This definitely has applications for certain combos. Now here's the straight nerf. So vertical jump heavy kick, this guy here, can no longer be canceled into Excalibur. This is an instant overhead. Like, this is an unseeable overhead. There's no possible way to defend against this other than you just know it's coming, right? So they've taken away the ability to cancel it into a special move, basically. So that part of her game plan is not quite as strong now. Now, like many other characters, her blowback, she has one of the best in the game. The hitbox is a little worse. That just goes with the changes for blowbacks. Other things here, Strike Arch, that is forward A. This is the regular version. So if you use this in the combo, increased combo scaling, so you less overall damage. EX Baltic Launcher, this guy here, now says reduced all recovery frames. So this move Basically more plus. Like as it stands, it was already pretty plus as it was. Now all the more so. Earring bombs got a little bit better. So light earring bomb, light punch rather. Now 38 frame startup versus 40. Not a lot, but still, it's something. Heavy version, now 43 frame startup from 45, so 2 frames faster as well. You know, she's not meant to be a zoner, right? But it does up her quality of life as far as this stuff goes. Grand Saber follow-up, this guy here, this is on the EX version. Now just better hitbox. Although Grand Saber itself, this is the charge with kick, says reduce the attack hitbox. Specifically it notes, hitbox is now the same as if the opponent was in an in-hit state. So basically, the combo version versus the regular version, they're now normalized. They're one and the same. Now, Excalibur, EX Excalibur, this guy here. So, decrease the startup. Now 21 frames from 23. Expand the hurt box so it's easier to hit her out of it. But we keep going here. So, hit count. This is now just a 2-hit move. Before, it used to be like a very multi-hitting move. Now it is only 2 hits. So, you know, therefore, the damage is going up each hit. Increase the guard crush value of it. Not that it's quite a lot, but it was basically nothing before. Yeah, so some changes, some odd, I think. But the big one is close heavy kick. The fact that it does not leave the enemy as far out now. So it just allows for a lot of shenanigans. Like heart attack combos. The one where you can put on the delayed explosion, they explode later. But now this connects. I connected before, but I can link close, crouching heavy punch, right? And then we can make a whole combo out of it. You know, 425. That's not bad for a single EX, right? And of course, you got supers and all that kind of stuff at the end. But yeah, so I think that's probably the single biggest change because, you know, it's double hitting. It hit confirms itself. You can go into whatever other stuff you want to after the fact. The fact that it allows for proper heart attack combos, I think that's the big change right there. Plus, you know, all the other stuff works out. Leona, I think, is doing okay. Ralf, once a top tier tyrant of the game, then he got hammered down pretty bad. How's he doing now? No, it's not a lot of changes, but you know, it's all right. Close standing light kick here, just, you know, basic normal. Reduced all recovery frames and reduced knockback distance, so they are closer. Not close enough to link into other close heavies, as far as I can tell. But I don't know, there's got to be some sort of application there, right? Regardless, it's still a buff. Now, crouching heavy punch, this is a workhorse normal, can now be canceled into jet upper. That's a down forward and light punch. So, outside of it being point blank, it's not going to matter. You're not going to use it as a poke and get into it, but still, more options equal more better. Still some nerfs, apparently. Ralf kick, the light kick version, increased all the recovery frames. Hit or block, doesn't matter. So, it's basically worse. It's basically just worse. Now, Ralf Impact, we got some success stories here. So the light kick version is now 21 frames from 23 frames, so it's 2 frames faster. And the heavy kick version has had its guard gauge damage ability upped. So it is easier to break people with the heavy kick version specifically. EX Gatling attack now is different as it is a true hard knockdown, so they cannot recover in any way, shape, or form. Although if it is blocked, the opponent will recover faster and they're not pushed back as far. So don't do it when they're blocking. Make sure you hit confirm your combos. Now here's a welcome buff. Dive Bomber, heavy punch version specifically, now just does more damage. So it now does 140, used to do 120. And if you use it as an off the ground attack, like when someone's grounded, it'll now do 80 damage instead of 60. Keep in mind too, since EX Gatling is a true hard knockdown now, there you go. Easy opportunity to get that OTG and does more damage. The EX version as well does even more OTG damage. Now it does 100 from 80. So if you're just looking to eke out a kill, that's your option. And his Rush Super is worse on block as the enemy doesn't get pushed back at all. So you're going to get blown up. There's a lot of changes like that. They don't want people to get out of jail free because of pushback, I guess. But yeah, that's it for Ralf. So not too different in the end. Now, Clark. A lot of people are not happy with the Clark changes, so let's go over all of them and let's see how it lands. First up here, close standing light. Now faster. 4 frames, used to be 5 frames, just like many characters. Close standing light kick. Now reduced knockback distance, and this is just regardless on block or on hit, so they're just a little bit closer. Close standing heavy kick. This guy here. He's now considered grounded while doing it. So basically that means no more going over lows or anything like that. He is a grounded foe. You can't get aerial recovery out of it or whatever. So that is definitely a straight nerf. Crouch light punch. Increased all the recovery frames. Now you can still chain it. So that part doesn't go away, but just by itself in a singleton, the recovery is increased. Crouching heavy punch, this guy here. So reduce the hitbox. Although, honestly, it's still pretty generous. So it's like only like a couple pixels. And increase the cancel window. So if you want to cancel that into a special, it is easier now than it was before. Now here's the big one, jump heavy kick. So reduce the attack hitbox. And how much? Well, like you're just never going to hit anyone crouching with it ever. Like it wasn't meant to hit crouchers anyways, really. But like even if you delay it as much as you can, you will never hit someone. So basically it just is worse now. Situations where it could hit before, it won't hit anymore. So the Vulcan punches. So the light version now, there's basically no knockback until the final hit, so they don't fall out of the combo. That is good. And the last hit, the big one there, the hitbox is expanded, so once again, no accidental dropping. If it blocks, increase the knockback on block. It leaves you neutral on block, but gives you basically a little bit of breather space, so that's handy. Reduce combo scaling, so it does more overall damage in combos. However, the last hit, the final hit can no longer be canceled in anything other than the level 3. So that is also the same for the heavy punch version. And heavy punch, much the same. Increased damage too for several of the hits as well. Much the same changes though as the light. Some other changes here. His backbreaker, the light kick version. Now the armor starts on frame 1. So just like King of Dinosaurs, so it's more valuable as a defensive move. So for Clark, I think it's just a combo of jump heavy kick being much worse. And it's been a good while since I played Clark, but I'm pretty sure like this stuff used to juggle. And now I think that's what the change means is you only get like the level 3 super off Vulcan punches now. Because you ain't getting nothing else off of it. Like no matter what you do, ain't nothing else juggling. To be honest, it's been a while since I put some real time in the Clark, so maybe I missed something here. If I did, by all means, please let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, definitely seems like he's lost some stuff. Terry. So Terry used to be a top tier terror, and then he got nerfed to merely pretty okay. So how is he doing? Well, let's start here. Close standing heavy kick. So important normal for him. Increase the active frames of the move, and increase the cancel window. So it's easier to go into special moves. So straight buff. Crouching light. So Crouching Light is now a 4-framer. Used to be 5-framer. So 1 frame faster. That's better. Jump Light. Jump Light Punch, that is. So Jump Light Punch is now 4 frames. Used to be 6. That's a buff. And this is both for his straight up jump and his diagonal jumps because they are different buttons. But regardless, they're both 4-framers now. Back Knuckle, forward A. So forward A is now special cancelable. That's handy. You know, it's a pretty long range poke. So being able just to use it as a poke into a special or a fireball or whatever, very, very, very handy. You'll probably get a good amount of use out of it. Rising Tackle, that is the DP. So now is 4-frame startup from 5. So it's better as a DP basically. That's great. And Max, level 2 version of Buster Wolf, now has even more projectile invincibility frames. So that's it, that's all. But it's pretty much all buffs across the board. So Terry doing good. Andy's a little tired of being overshadowed by Terry in King of Fighters 15, so he's going to do something about it. First up, Jump Light Punch. So Jump Light Punch has more active frames, that's good, and can be canceled into Mai Shiranui, which is his fast fall. Just down heavy kick in the air. So, I don't know the explicit use of this, but it looks cool, I guess. Jump Light Kick. So now 4 frames, used to be 5, so a frame faster. That just makes it better. Jump Heavy Punch can also be canceled into Mai Shiranui. So, if you ever just want to do a roll in front of their face, you totally can. His command normal is no longer back light punch. It is now forward heavy punch. And it is air invulnerable against all highs. So, it can also be a grounded high, but generally highs are going to be from, jumps. And it's invulnerable on frame 1. So, pretty handy. Good quality of life change. The target combo, light kick, heavy kick. So that is now special cancelable. That's good. Also, a little bit of a penalty to come with the new power. Has a bit more recovery frames, and the hitbox is not as strong as it was, but still, you're gaining stuff. Zenaiken, this is the heavy version of the elbow. So it says reduce the attack startup when triggered from far away. So basically, the further you are out, I guess the faster it is. Also, the damage is up. So it does 100, used to do 80, so 20 more damage. It's a pretty good bonus. Kuhudan, the EX version, that is his big drill kick. So reduced all recovery frames, which is good, and reduced the opponent's guard recovery on the last hit. So they will recover quicker, so it sort of balances out in that way. So Fireball, so Hishoken. So the light punch version says reduced the special cancel window, basically so you don't get accidental supers. But the heavy punch version, now has had its speed wildly increased. Like, pretty ridiculously so. So yeah, if you want a quick fireball to spam, this is the one, man. This is pretty jazzed up. And EX Shoryudan, that's the uppercut. So now starts up at 6 frames, used to be 8, so it is 2 frames faster. So just better. So yeah, Andy, interesting changes. Better anti-air with the command normal. That's good because it's just invulnerable to highs on frame 1. And the fireball, heavy fireball being wickedly faster. That is very interesting. So I think he's doing pretty okay. Joe, not too many changes, but still let's go over them. So close heavy kick. So expanded the proximity recognition, meaning you can get close heavy kick from further away. It's pretty important for a lot of combos and all that kind of stuff. So just it being a more reliable tool is pretty solid. EX Hurricane Uppers now do more guard damage. Pretty substantial. So, you know, if they're anywhere in the region of being guard broken, if you want to burn the bar, you'll definitely get them. His machine gun punches. These guys here. So it says it has reduced the window for the mash extension. So I guess it means just the mash punches are easier to do now. Says the machine gun punches can also be canceled into his finish number 1, which is the elbow, before the attack even begins. But as it stands, I am not fast enough to do that. I always get at least 1 hit in before it connects, so I guess you gotta be faster than me. But try it out. Level 2 Screw Upper, that is the big Hurricane Super. So it says expand the attack hitbox. That's good. The Rush Super, the final hit. Regardless of the fact he's in the air, you can now max or climax cancel it. So gives you more potential damage value. Very, very good. And this is for either the level 1 or the level 2 versions. Doesn't matter which one. You can always get your follow-ups now. So that's good quality of life. So yeah, not too much for Joe, but it works. It's good. Okay, Rio. Rio's definitely one of the big bandits in this patch. Went good. I'm not even going to go in order this time because I'm excited. I want to show you the changes. So Kooken, the fireball. You all know how it works, right? You know, it's like the poor man's fireball, blah, blah, blah. You gotta get a real fireball, you gotta burn meter. And, you know, light punch stands in place. And, you know, if you do heavy punch, he travels with it, right? The thing about the heavy punch version is they buffed the range. They buffed the range. They buffed the range. It now goes like 3 times further than it did before. So this is your giant control neutral button now for sure, because, like, you know, it crushes hops and all that stuff too. So you can now control a wicked amount of space with this move. It's crazy. Now back to the regularly scheduled patch. So far standing light punch can now, timing permitting, go into far standing light kick. It says cancel, but I don't know. Cancel is a bit of a generous term here. I know technically you are, but just the way the animation look, it doesn't really look like you're canceling it too much, but so be it. Close standing light punch. Now a 4-framer. Really good. It goes into a bunch of his heavies up close. So it just makes it more valuable to do. That's good. Now here's another one of the fun ones. So Forte, the cancel version, the one you want to use in combos, can now go into his big weird lunge punch. Now it's not a natural combo or anything, but you can do it. And it's plus on block. And also, the lunge punch moves the enemy less far away on block than it did before. So you can take advantage of those plus frames better. That's good. And this is by itself as well, too. So now on block, am I going to go for like Kooken? Or am I going to leave you a gap and I'll go for this? And then if you block it, then, you it's still my turn. I can threaten with like a low or a button or something. So it just gives them a lot more dynamic options offensively. That's very, very good. Also, the counters are better at countering. They have their counter hitboxes expanded. And the mid counter can now be itself whiff canceled. So if I do whatever into it, I can now cancel that counter into a special move. So it's going to be some sort of weird gimmicks with that for sure. Ryo now gains meter when he does his Kookens on whiff before he had to hit. It's not a lot of meter, sure, but like certainly better than nothing because it was nothing before. His machine gun uppers, both of them the heavy punch and light punch version, also have much less combo scaling. So in situations where you're guaranteed the hit, you might want to like change your routes or something, like to whatever, I don't know. But like that's 446. A more basic combo with this exact kind of thing, 350, right? Same amount of meters spent, but one's a lot better than the other. His level 3 does more damage. It's not a lot more, but now does 450 instead of 430. That's good. Rambo, the light version specifically, is now 2 frames faster startup. So if you're just looking to catch people full screen, it's just that much easier. It is 2 frames easier. That's good. So yeah, basically he's doing better across the board. He has a much better neutral thanks to Koken, the range increase, which is like titanically large. That's very, very good. Thanks to machine gun changes, he might do more damage now in combos, at least more optimal combos where you get like punishes and all that kind of stuff. Counters being better is, counters being better on top of like the weird gimmick that you can now cancel the mid counter into another move, which time will tell on that one. Being able to add new layers of offense, thanks to the fact that you can cancel forward A into the big punch. Like, I don't know, man. Like, Ryo, I think it'll take a while to fully assess all these changes, but I think he's definitely going to come out one of the biggest winners of the patch. Robert, or Robert, as he prefers to be called. So, not too much, but Robert's always been pretty decent, so he didn't need too much, honestly. Crouch Heavy Punch now has a better cancel window, so if you just want to do Crouch Heavy into special, your window to do so is a bit more lenient. Like so many other characters, Jump Light Punch, now 4-framer. Used to be 6-frame startup, now 4-frame. His CD, blowback. Robert has one of the best blowbacks in the game. So it has been nerfed, just like many other characters, although for him, the hitbox is the same, which is good. It's just a bit slower. So it's 14 frames now. Used to be 12 frames. So a lot of the Robert special, as we went over at the very beginning of the video, does not do as much damage. It does about 50-ish less damage. But it still exists. It's still there. So it's still a good tool. Much like Ryo, his machine gun legs, the combo scaling on these has been eased. So reduced combo scaling, meaning if you use them in a combo, you will do more overall damage. Also, increase the super cancel input on the final hit. So it's just a little bit easier to get your last hit in. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky. I played Robert a bit. Sometimes it was a bit tricky. So just making that easier on you, that's good. And Rambo's. So his Rambo, like Ryo's, is faster, except his is a lot faster. So used to be 16 frames, now is 8 frames. So pretty wild increase in speed. It's like double the speed. That's good. That's good. But that's it. So Robert was always a solid character, and solid character he will remain. He's not top 5 or nothing, but if you put your time into Robert, you will be well rewarded. King has a few decent changes. First up, Stand Light Punch is now special cancelable, and it does naturally combo into Heavy Venom Strike, so that's good. Quality of life. Stand Heavy Punch, the window to cancel into Quick Max is now more generous than it was before. Actually, it's very generous now. I don't really see you having any issues with that. Crouching Heavy Punch, this guy here. Now the special cancel window is expanded, so easier to get specials off of it. Jumping Light Punch now crosses up. And it's a pretty good cross up too. Like, you can't be too reckless with it, but like definitely delivers. So getting a cross up, that's good. That's nice. Here's a really silly change. So Trap Kick, that's a forward and light kick. That is the one that is a true overhead. So this guy here can now be canceled into the level 3 Climax Super. So if you want to bet on overhead and you want to bet big that they're not going to block your overhead, well, now you got a pretty good option here. Tornado Kick, this is light and heavy versions. The landing can now be canceled into a super, so this makes combos more reliable. Surprise Rose is now invincible against air attacks, so you want to use it as an anti-air. It is now an option available to you. And both that and the max version, level 2 version, they've changed up the hitboxes just to make it more reliable across the board, so that's good. And Illusion Dance, that's her level 3. So Illusion Dance, increase movement speed, increase distance traveled, and increase the active frames. So kind of buffs all around. It says you can't do it from a backwards jump anymore, but the problem with that is you can just do a backwards jump special, cancel that, and like, you know, Venom Strike or whatever, and then cancel the start of that into it, so you can still backwards jump and still do it. I guess it's a couple frames slower if you do it that way. But still, yeah. So overall, King, just good quality of life changes for the most part. She's not rocketing up the tier list, but you can't be mad with the changes either. Athena. So out of the gate here, close standing light kick. Does not push the enemy as far away. Now, it does not link into any of the close heavy normals or anything like that. So that's not that kind of change, but still it's a buff. And once again, keeping with so many of their characters, jumping light punch, now 4 frames. Used to be 6, so it's faster. Phoenix Bomb. That's the big butt dive, forward and light kick. So now does 60 damage, used to do 30, so double the damage. Not bad. Also, this counts for the aerial version of the move as well, not just the grounded one. So yeah, just straight up double damage. Works out. Psycho Sword, heavy punch version has increased invulnerability, which is very good because it was not the most reliable move when it comes to invincibility. That's handy. And light punch version now has reduced recovery, so you'll recover quicker after doing the move. Handy. Reflectors, basically a change to the hitbox, so you're less likely to reflect a projectile that was sort of already behind you. And the light kick version actually has some hit stop now on hit, so handy. Teleport. So Teleport, the regular non-EX version, now has less recovery, so you can spam it all the more. Teleportos, let's go. And the EX version is now invulnerable to physical attacks. Now it's not frame 1, as you can see here, I can get counter hit out of it, right? But partway through it, it's just invulnerable to strikes, so that is definitely handy. Shining Crystal Bit, the super. Basically, if you want to do the cancel out of it, the cancel happens quicker. Handy. Also, Crystal Shoot, that is her little Frieza fireball. So the regular version destroys projectiles better now, and the level 2 max version says expanded the hitbox, so easier to connect with the enemy. Handy. So not too much in the way of big changes, but at least, you know, stuff like the command normal just doing more damage. That's handy. Like, can't argue against it, I suppose. But yeah, she's mostly the same, just a little bit better. So Mai ate a pretty big nerf, but we'll get to it. First off, at the start here, close standing heavy kick. So expanded the proximity recognition, meaning you can do the close heavy kick from further away, and it's a really good normal, so that's good. Now on the flip, they nerfed it, so 7 frame startup now instead of 5. That does suck, but them's the breaks, I suppose. Her jump CD, which is one of the best jump CDs in the game. Like many other CDs getting nerfed, this one got nerfed. 12 frame startup now from 9, so it is 3 frames slower than it was before. Her slide, the second hit can now be canceled in the supers. I don't know how often that's going to come up, but there you go. Now here's the big nerf. So Ryuembu, this guy here, you can no longer do it multiple times in the same combo. So I have a combo example here of like before the patch, pretty box standard corner combo, and you can see I'm using it multiple times. Now, how this would work in this build of the game. So you can still do EX into the regular version. That is not an issue, but you cannot get a second version. Like, it's just not going to happen. So that means you're going to lose some overall damage. Not to say you have no options, because you absolutely do. Just, you don't have the exact same options you did before. Like, you can still go for, you know, ninja bees after the fact or whatever. Like, you still can get follow-ups. Just not as much damage, and you don't get that nice little tasty reset at the end either. EX Ryuembu, they nerfed the pushback on block, so don't do it on block. That's only nerfed to people who don't hit confirm their combos. It's not all doom and gloom, there is a buff. So light kick ninja bees, I don't know what the real name is for it, it's always been ninja bees to me. It is now 12 frames, used to be 14, so when it just comes to usefulness, you know, 2 frames better, that is better. Also, Masabi no Mai, the wall bounces. So the light punch versions, front or back, are now much lower to the ground than they used to be. So you can kind of use them as like ghetto short hops in the corner. The heavy punch versions still go wildly high up like they always did, but now if you want a little bit more subtle, a bit more lower to the ground, use light punch, and it's changed up. So that is a good buff. So my overall, definitely a nerf. Like the corner damage going down and a lot of the utility going down is definitely going to be something noticeable. But she's still good. Like she's still very strong neutral. Like that didn't get taken away other than maybe just jump CD being a little bit worse. But, you know, it was pretty abusable. I'm not going to complain about that too much. But yeah, Mai's still pretty good. Yuri, some interesting things here. One of them, her run is just faster. KOF a very mobile, very, you know, speed-based game. And if you can move faster, that is to your benefit. Now, a bunch of these here. So close standing light punch, close standing light kick, crouching light punch, crouching light kick. All of them, just the rapid fires, like going into other moves, they're all just expanded. A lot of characters, their normals are changing. Close light punch here, expanded the hitbox, so just easier to connect with. Also reduced, not increased, reduced the close proximity. So that means you'll get far light from closer. So many of these other changes is like you can get your close normals easier. This one's actually making it harder to get your close normal. So that's definitely different. Close heavy kick. Now this one expanded close proximity recognition. So we can do close heavy kick from further away. So that's good. You use it for combos, all that stuff. Crouching heavy punch. Increase the window that you can special cancel out of. Her butt attack here, forward light punch. So the cancel version says you can now whiff cancel the move. Now, I don't play Yuri, so I don't know how to whiff cancel the move if you're already getting the cancel version to connect. Like, that seems a little difficult to me. I'm sure there's something you can do, but regardless now, if you whiff the move entirely, you can cancel it into a special, I suppose. Kokens! You now build more meter on whiff. That's good. Also here, the normal version, the projectile, because you can hold the move. The projectile is better. It says here, projectile increases to level 2. I'm assuming this means for like clashes and all that kind of stuff when it is fully charged. And also, the EX version is a level 3 instead of a level 2 when it is fully charged. So if you're looking to win some Fireball Wars, now this is a pretty good way to do it. Also, EX version specifically doesn't have to be held. The opponent's guard recovery is increased, so basically it's free plus frames now. Her uppercuts, the light punch version, now has more recovery, and the heavy punch version now travels a little bit further than it did. Her demon flip here, the command hop, the dragon punch, and kick, can now be followed up with the EX version of the fireball if you want to burn some meter. So more fireballs, you know, add more garbage to the screen. That's pretty good, right? Also, if you want to do the regular version of the fireball, her landing recovery is now improved, so she will recover faster than she did before. So basically, strict buff to the fireball game. Cho Saiha, that is her big shield super. So it is now 7 frames startup from 11, so it's 4 frames faster. That is good, but can no longer be advance cancelled or climax cancelled on whiff. Which, fair enough, I suppose. Don't go whiffing your super moves. And all the versions, the opponent is knocked back less on block, as in barely knocked back at all. So not too many changes for Yuri, but being able to do EX fireballs, air fireballs off the demon flip is interesting, and just having better recovery, that's good too. If you are a Yuri player, I would like to hear your comments on this, because I don't really play her myself. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Blue Mary, let's make this short and sweet, because she's barely changed. So far heavy punch, this guy here, it is now 2 frames faster. Used to be 12 frames, is now 10 frames. That's good. Far heavy kick, this guy here, is now 12 frames, used to be 14, so 2 frames faster. And also when she's in the air, she's now invulnerable to low attacks. So it makes it good to crush lows, so that's good as well. And for Hammer Arch, that is forward and A. For the cancel version, we use for combos, you can also use back and A. That's it. That's all. She's been in a pretty good spot, and will remain so. That's it. Now Vanessa, another person who's fallen from grace. She used to run this game, and then, well, not so much, right? But she has some interesting changes. So, like so many other characters here, close standing light punch, it's just faster, 4 frames. Used to be 5, so it's a frame faster. Much the same here, close light kick. So this is now 4 frames, used to be 6, so it is 2 frames faster. So up close, she's more of a threat. Now here's the thing, we got some new tools. We have a new target combo. So heavy kick into heavy punch is now a target combo. So 2 button presses gets you 4 hits. It does knock down, as you can see, it knocks the enemy away. It is unfortunately not special cancelable. You can't go in any specials to follow up. However, it is super cancelable. So if you're just looking for some very easy hit confirms, it's now an option on the table. Crouch heavy punch. Add an attack hitbox to parts of the attack where there was none. I'm assuming they're just making it more reliable as an anti-air. And also increase the special cancel window. So that's handy. 1-2 puncher. That is forward and light punch. So this move here now does more damage. So the first hit now does 50 from 30. So the initial hit does 20 more damage. So you're just doing more damage overall. Puncher is straight. That's forward punch after you do her stance stuff. The EX version specifically now just does more damage. So it does 140. Used to do 120. It also says increase the travel distance forward here while doing the move. So we can get just a little further away, although not terribly far away. Also the regular version, damage buff as well. Now does 100. Used to do 80. Crazy puncher. That is the super. So expanded hitbox if they're already being comboed. So basically it's easier to land in combos. That's handy. It also has increased grab and vulnerability frames for the level 2 version specifically, and also for level 2, expanded hitbox if they're in the middle of a combo. And Champion Puncher is now a mid instead of an overhead. So not too much in the way of big changes either, but you know, they don't want to run the game again. But having a new target combo I think is pretty cool. Like, just adding new moves in a patch is always something I'm a big fan of. So it is something at the very least. She's definitely in a better state than she was before, in my opinion anyways. Luong. Now Luong has some really fun changes. One, basic, close heavy kick. Proximity is now increased, so you can get this move from further away. Like pretty freaking far away, in fact, actually. Like this is regular heavy kick. And even from like here, close heavy, like look at that. That is how far away close heavy triggers. This is one of her better buttons. So getting it from that far away is pretty ridiculous. Now, her jumping heavy punch, this guy here, now triggers a state where you can juggle after the fact. Now, I'm hardly a pro at Luong combos, but this, like, wildly can extend her combo duration. So, just to give you a basic example. Well, I kind of botched it at the end there, but you get the idea, right? I'm not a Luong combo expert, but you can do stuff like that. So it just opens more opportunities, gives more opportunities for damage, more options, more better. Other things, Sui, that is her command normal. If you do the cancel version, it is now faster, 15 frames, used to be 19, so 4 frames faster. That is nothing to sneeze at. Geki, that is her flash kicks. So the heavy punch version, that is this guy here, that is expanded the hitbox of the move, so it's easier to connect. That's great. Also, if you want to hold it and then do the dash cancel, the dash cancel now has better recovery frames, reduced recovery frames. Also good. EX Ren, that's this guy here, the big flippy kicks. Reduce combo scaling when you use in a combo. So if you use this in a combo, you will do more overall damage because it's not hitting the scaling as hard. Her kick super, this guy here. So changes for light kick and heavy kick versions. Now the light kick version removed invincibility. The heavy kick version has increased invincibility, but the light kick version is a lot better for combos now because it is startup is now 9 frames from 17. So basically the light kick version is the combo version, heavy kick version is if you want invincibility. As for the other supers, increase the hitbox, making them a bit better. So yeah, good quality of life for sure for Luong. Just more damage is welcome for sure. More utility, just good sight to see. I like it. Now, Rock ate some changes. So one, far standing heavy punch. It is now worse recovery frames. So on hit, on block, on whiff, whatever. Just more recovery frames overall. Now, close standing light kick, like a few other characters, now leaves the opponent closer and can also chain into things that are other lights, which can be handy. We'll see the applications of that in time. And of course, like so many other characters, jump light is now 4 frames. Used to be 6, now is 4. That is a buff. Now jump low back. So Rock's jump low back, the hurt box now is expanded before it hits. So basically, it is easier to knock him out of the move. Hard edge, that is the elbows. So light hard edge, across the board, increased recovery. Heavy hard edge, this is no longer a hard knockdown. So as you can see here, Shermie, she's tech rolling. So no more free pressure or anything like that. Got to deal with it. Now EX hard edge, this guy here, is the one that causes the crumple. So now it is slower. So it is 15 frame startup from 13. So if you're looking to get it off of like the edge of a light or something, not happening. Now you can still use command normals because they'll have the hit stun you need to get it, but just off basic lights, no dice. Rising tackles. So the light version has more recovery. The heavy version, you gain less meter while doing it. His dunk. So now when you have the power up active, it actually changes a bit here. So it says altered opponent behavior when the power up is active. So it's multi-hitting versus single hit, I suppose, is one of the differences. It says also reduces all recovery frames when the power up is active. So the frame date is a bit different here. So it says just negative. So it's -1 through -3. Regularly, it'd be a lot more. Negative, which is a punish for sure. Counter, like so many of the other counters, the hitbox for the counter is being expanded. This is light kick and heavy kick. So basically just trying to make the counter better at doing its actual job, except like so many of the other ones, it can't counter things behind him anymore. So no more weird gimmicky counters. So Shinkunage, that is his throw, his daddy's throw. For him, it has to be a special. For his daddy, it's just a regular move because, you know, he's better like that, right? But the base version, the hurt box is worse. So it's easier to get smacked out of if you don't have it properly done. And if you whiff the move, there is more recovery on it. The EX version has had its range pretty savagely curtailed, I would say. Can't exactly math it out, but definitely quite a bit less range than it was before. Also, it used to have a little bit of invulnerability. I actually didn't know that. Apparently, it was invulnerable against physical attacks before. Well, no longer. That is taken away. So you got to earn those grabs now. Also, his level 3 super that provides the buff has changed up a little bit. One of them is a pretty severe damage nerf. So it used to do 400, now it does 300. And if for whatever reason you get it a second time while you already have the buff active, it used to do 450, now it'll do 350. So, you know, the buff's pretty good, right? So if you want damage, you do the other level 3. If you want the buff, you do this one. Now you're taking a pretty sizable damage debuff, or rather less damage overall. So yeah, Rock remains one of the better characters in the game, I'll say, although he definitely got hit a bit. So be Jenny, Bon Jenny, be Jenet, however you want to do it. Definitely a strong character in this game, and getting nerfed just a bit, although I think she'll still be okay in the end. So let's just run down the list. Far standing light kick. Reduced all recovery frames, so better recovery. That is a buff. Far heavy punch, this guy here. So increase the attack startup, not decrease, increase. It is now 9 frames from 7, so it's used as a poke. While still be fine, still got good range, good hitbox, right? It's just a bit slower now. Close light kick keeps him a bit closer than it did before. Close standing heavy kick, also slower now. So it used to be 5 frames, is now 7 frames. So toning down some of the more abusable moves. Crouching heavy punch. So worse hurt box, easier to hit her out of it, and also reduce the attack hitbox, so doesn't hit as cleanly as it did before. Going into some of the jumps, jump light punch here has more overall active frames. Jump light kick here reduced the overall active frames. Her CD, her blowback, the hitbox is not as good as it used to be, and the hurt box is now worse. And also her forward distance traveled, well, is basically gone. There is no forward distance traveled anymore. Her command normal, this guy here, so worse hurt box. And also if it is blocked, then the recovery is worse. For her fireball, the light punch version specifically, it says altered opponent behavior when hit mid-air. And as far as I can tell, this just means it'll always leave them grounded no matter what. Crazy Ivan heavy punch version specifically reduced all the recovery frames. So this makes it better on hit, this makes it better on block. As you can see, here's barely any good on block. Handy enough. The EX version of Crazy Ivan, this is the one that has the crumple. The damage has been curtailed pretty heavily. So it used to do 120, now it does 80. So like you still get all your combo opportunities, but you're just not going to do as much damage now. Golf Tomahawk, so the heavy kick version, this guy, reduced the pushback on block, meaning they're closer, which is good because this move is advantage on block. So you want them to be as close as possible so you can take advantage of the plus frames. The EX version, if you use it in the combo, increases the combo scaling, so you'll do less overall damage. Harrier B, that's a weird little dive kick thing. So the big nerf here is the first 3 hits now just do less damage. So they all do 20 instead of 30, so you're going to do less overall damage. However, the final hit does do more damage, so that is good, but considering it's coming at the end, the scaling's connecting, so you're probably going to do less overall. And the one buff actually here, though, is the stun damage is increased pretty heavily on the final hit. EX Harrier B can no longer be triggered from a backwards jump, so no shenanigans or gimmicks there. And much the same here, the initial hits do less damage, the last hit does more, but because of scaling, you're probably going to do less overall. The Hind, this guy here, the EX version, if you want to do Harrier B follow-up, the window is now a bit more generous. Her kick super here, all the hits except for the last one do less damage. So they used to be every hit was 20, now they're all 10, although the last hit does more damage to compensate. But once again, at the end of a long combo, it's usually, well, probably not scale in your favor. And her level 3 super, so it's a counter super nominally, right? But the house change here is now the counter starts frame 1, but any amount of invulnerability the move has had is now out the window. So it's purely a counter move when you're using it as it is. Now, of course, you can combo into it. You know, you can still use it like climax cancel, all that kind of stuff. That part hasn't changed. But if you're using it as a reversal, it is now a strictly counter reversal, no invincibility whatsoever. So honestly, she's kind of not touched too much. She can do a lot of the stuff she did before, just she's going to be doing less damage while doing it in the end. Now, Gato's got a whole whack of changes. Now, unlike some of the other characters here, where it says their run speed, it says increase their run speed, his run speed's actually reduced. So he's slower while running. So that's definitely something that's kind of different. Now, also, changes here. Stand light, close version of stand light. So it is now a low attack, used to be a mid. So now if you want to block it, you actually have to crouch. So that's a nice buff. And also it is now a 5-frame move. It used to be a 7-frame move. So this is solid quality of life buff right there. Crouch light punch. The hitbox has been reduced, although not too much because it still does its thing, right? Crouching heavy punch. This guy here, this guy's a breadwinner. So the attack hitbox has also been reduced, but you know, from the distances I'm connecting from, like I guess right there would be the old hitbox. Now if I go 1 pixel closer, I get the hit. So that's roughly about the shape of the nerf. Jumping heavy punch, this guy here is now slower. So it was 6 frames, is now 8 frames. And the hitbox also reduced just a little bit. Now here's probably the make or break for a lot of you guys. So Quaking Fang is now 15 frames. So it used to be 12 frames, which means doesn't combo off light punch anymore. So if you're looking to get that damage, because it's substantial damage, because it is a crumple, you're going to have to commit to a heavier hit. Simple as that. No more gigantic damage off lights. Wind Fang, so that's his stomp into the hop. So the heavy kick version of Wind Fang says the distance traveled on the first hit, I'm assuming this means the stomp, is now further out. I also expanded the attack hitbox, so just the stomp part is better. Also, if you do the break, so you can hit light punch and light kick together to not do the jump follow-up. If you do the break, it says reduce the recovery frames. So I don't know what it was before, but as it stands right now, the break is plus on block. So it's only anywhere from like +1 to 3, but still, that's there. The EX version of it is now a true low. So you actually have to block that low. That's handy. The regular version, that's still a mid. So that hasn't changed. Only the EX is a low. But still, there you go. Also, these changes also go for the other versions as well. So Backdraft Fang, if you break it or plus on block, the EX version is a true low that has to be block crouching. So that's also the same. Some of the moves have been changed up as well. So from the kick version, the dive kick says it has a better hitbox. From the punch version, the counter, just like so many of the other counters, the counter hitbox has been expanded, so that's better. His little teleport clone, you can now cancel the recovery of that into a special move if you so wish. So, more gimmickry. Lightning Fang, that is the reversal / uppercut style move. So one of the things here, the light kick version got slower. So it used to be 5 frames, is now 7 frames. The heavy kick version does not build as much meter as it used to, also more recovery. Also is level 3, more recovery on everything, and if you block it, it basically leaves the enemy directly beside you, like so many other changes in this game. And that's about it. So the main thing is, you know, if you're the kind of Gato that basically only relied on that, it's definitely a nerf. You know, but he does have links, right? Like this is a natural link, and that does go into it. Or you can just do, you know, close, heavy, command, normal, whatever. Like, so that part never changed. But just the part where it's just light, into full EX knockdown into full combo, that part's gone. But overall, I don't think it's too rough on him. So I think Gato will be okay. Coming around to Geese Howard. So out of the gate, his command normal forward A, and this is specifically the cancel version, now goes further than it did before. That's welcome, I suppose. Fudoken, that is the palm that leads into the billion different options. The light version specifically is now faster, 8 frames. Used to be 9 frames. Also, it goes further as well, so that's good. The A follow-up, aka the palm follow-up, so after the heavy or the EX version, also goes further. And it says here that the EX version, that the opponent's behavior is altered on hit, but it's still a wall bounce, so I don't know, you tell me. Much the same here. So Fudo O. So this is the follow-up after the light version. Said has also altered opponent behavior when they're hit midair, but seems about the same to me, so I don't know. Now the big one, just like so many other characters, the counters. The counters, like everyone else, the counter hitboxes got buffed, so same here. So Geese's counter hitboxes, which is a major part of his game plan, they're all better across the board. The regulars and also the EXs. Gohanage, this is the EX version specifically, where he picks you up and then just kind of dumps you down like the trash you are. So the active frames on the EX version are increased, so just easier to hit, even though either you hit or you didn't. If you were in like place or not, I don't know, but whatever. More overall active frames, that is good. Also reduced all recovery frames. So after the dunk, he recovers quicker, therefore he has more advantage against the opponent when they're getting up. That is definitely very good. His heavy leaping slash, which is a pretty good move, plus unblock, all that kind of stuff, expanded the attack hitbox. So the cross up, as far as I can tell, is just all the easier to get. So use and abuse when you can. His super Reppuken now has an expanded hitbox. I do remember some problems where it could accidentally go underneath certain people during combo, so hopefully that is dealt with. Rashomon, so this is his level 3 command grab. Now does more damage. So it used to do 450, now does proper 500. So if you're just going for like gimmicks, like you go for empty hop into the grab or something, 500's a lot of damage to do. So, you know, that's probably a round ender. Raging Storm as well says, just like some of the others, altered behavior on hit, but looks about the same to me. So if you know something I'm missing, please let me know. But yeah, so mostly just quality of life stuff for Geese. No giant buffs, but Geese is doing all right. Pretty much just all quality of life stuff as far as I can tell. So Billy Kane, first thing out of the gate I got to tell you is he can now use stand heavy punch and not get punished for it on hit, like he could before against a lot of the cast. So you can actually use his poke as a poke and not get blown up for it. What a concept. So besides that, now going from the top of the list, Far Light Punch. Now faster, 7 frames, used to be 8. That's handy enough, I suppose. And now Close Standing Light Punch here, also expanded the hitbox of it. Handy enough. Jumping Heavy Punch states that the hurt box has been reduced. However, seems to get blown up pretty far away as far as I can tell. I guess it was just extra rotten before. His CD, the blowback, as with many of the better CDs in the game, they're all kind of getting nerfed. So reduce the overall hitbox, although still hits from pretty far away, so it's not useless or nothing. Jump CD, the hurt box, the part where he gets hit, is reduced before the attack goes live. So ideally, it's much better as a jump in now. His command normal is now a true overhead. So if you want to block this, you gotta be standing. And see your crouch block? Doesn't work, you gotta stand. Also, it's faster. So it comes in at 20 frames now from 22, so 2 frames faster overall. Forward light kick command normal goes over lows a lot better now. Says reduce the timing for it to be invincible against lows. So just goes over lows faster into the move. Now the twirl. I wondered about this, and twirl does indeed work better from further away. Now it's not magic, but the pull-in distance is significantly more than what it was. And both the regular and the X versions has reduced combo scaling, meaning you'll do more overall damage in a combo if you use it in the combo. That's handy enough. The damage values on the EX have been tweaked a bit, so it does less damage on the upfront, but does 100 damage on the final hit. His half circle forward punch poke, this guy here, the big extend, if you do the heavy punch extension, it now brings in the enemy much closer to you than it did before, and leaves you at heavy frame advantage, so interesting. Okay, now let's mix these together. So the up poke, so quarter circle back and punch, and his up kicks, dragon punch motion and kick. The EX and regular versions, both of them, can both be used in the same combo. So I can do something like this, and still get the follow-up after the fact. Much the same if I get the launcher here. Up staff, I can do the regular and the EX as well. So his combo structure is much more freeform. You have much more options to work with. So ultra basic example. Don't use this as a B&B or anything. But here's an example of something you could do. And that all works, right? So you can use multiples of them in the same combo now. Also for up staff, the heavy punch version is now full invincible to all aerial attacks. Now, as you can see here, you gotta have the timing correct, because if you're a bit too late, you have your invincibility, sure, but then they land, then they can do whatever. So watch out for that. It is faster though. It does come out in 13 frames versus 15 from before. Better hitbox, all that kind of stuff. So if you know people are gonna be in the air, you can rest assured you can snipe them out pretty easily. The counters, just like so many of the other counters, better hitbox, counters easier, although can't counter things behind them. His kick super now travels quite a bit further than it did before, meaning you can get it in situations you never could before, so making a better combo ender. I don't think Billy's heading to top tier land or anything, but I do think he's a more viable character than he was before, so take it for what you will. Yamazaki is a case, in my opinion, of the rich get richer. He wasn't necessarily the top of the top, but he was pretty good, and it's all nice buffs for the most part here. So close heavy kick. Expanded recognition, meaning you can do close heavy kick from much further away than you could before. Like, look at that. That's ridiculous that you get a close from that far away. Serpent slash, like kick version, so the straight poke. Now the damage values have changed. So it used to do 30, then 40. Like if you did both hits, but you would rarely do both hits. Now it's 30 and 60. So the 60 is more important because the 60 is the part that you'll usually connect with when you're using it like as a poke. So that's just more damage. Now the one nerf here is if you do slash canceling, you don't get meter for it anymore, which is fair enough. Double return, that is the move that can reflect projectiles. So if you reflect a projectile, you get your recovery reduced. So you can move and do stuff faster than before. His counter, like so many other counters, the counter hitbox is better. So this is across the board. Every character that has a counter has a better counter, and his counter is better. Todome, that is his stomp. And this is specifically the EX version of the stomp. So the stomp is better. So the last hit now does more damage, does 75 now from 55. And well, more damage is always more better, right? The minimum damage it does is also increased. So the final hit, the minimum damage is now 50 instead of 11. So if you're looking for guaranteed damage at the end of a longer combo, it is there. And also you recover quicker. So yeah, if you're looking for just, you know, finishing off a fight with an OTG, it's a lot better than it ever was. His guillotine super is now faster. So 7 frame startup used to be 9. So potentially new combo routes. Bare minimum, it's just faster, and that's always better. One thing is poison super. You can no longer OTG with your Serpent Slash. But you can still OTG with the EX OTG, so it's all good, I guess. And his level 3 super. So if you're unaware, this is one that you can like power up by mashing. And if you get the max level version, then the minimum guaranteed damage is going to go up. it'll do 120 from 75. So you're getting more bang for your buck. So yeah, just good quality of life changes for a character that was already kind of pretty good. So I expect him to go up the tier list just a little bit. Now we're entering the Orochi versions of Team CYS. Did they get kind of just dragged across the ground like the rest? Well, not as much. But, you know, they share some DNA, so some of the things got changed. Yashiro, far standing light punch, got a worse hitbox, just like regular Yashiro. Same with his crouch light punch. His crouch light kick is slower, 7 frames now instead of 5 frames. Jump heavy punch as well, worse hitbox, and more of a hurt box. They share the normal, so they both pay the price. His CD here as well, worse hitbox, and it's way worse than the Yashiro normal version, so that kind of sucks. Hitbox is toned down a fair bit, and the hurtbox is also expanded. We do got some buffs though, so his anti-air version of his grab does more damage now, it does 140, used to do 120, and the minimum possible damage is also higher, so if you use it in the combo, you'll do more overall damage. His run grab, specifically the heavy kick version, so that one's a hit, it's not actually a throw, you can block it, but still, 12 frame startup now, used to be 16, so it is faster, and the actual speed he moves at is also quicker. His heavy punch command leap, if you don't actually do anything, he will recover quicker, but you know, the idea is to do something, right? The EX version now has better grab range, which is handy. The super leap grab also has better range, so that's good. The grab will be more active and can hit people from a bit further out. Also, when doing the max version of the move here, so from full screen, it goes like 90% of the screen, right? Which is great if you're far away, but if you're a bit closer, you're gonna go flying over their head. But if you hold back after doing it, he actually goes much less far, right? So you can threaten with this now from closer up, which is a blessing. Having more options is always great. And that is it. Unfortunately, Orochi Yashiro paying for regular Yashiro's sins for the most part. Definitely not as strong as a character, but he shares a lot of the normals, so they gotta be toned down just a little bit. Now, Orochi Shermie is an interesting story. So some of the things here, like regular Shermie, close standing light punch is changed up. So reduced recovery frame, reduced knockback, all that kind of stuff. Crouching light kick. Takes longer to go down to the ground, so she can't low profile stuff, just like regular Shermie. Crouching heavy punch has reduced hitbox, but it's not reduced in speed. So Shermie's got slower in the frame data. Orochi Shermie's did not, which this means stuff like this is still a combo. So 2-hit combo, 2-hit combo, all that kind of stuff. So her speed of this move is not nerfed like regular Shermie's is, so she still gets these links. So that is definitely a big blessing for sure. Now on the flip, sweep, just like regular Shermie, got nerfed. Bigger hurt box, more recovery, all that kind of stuff. Jump CD also increased hurt box before the attack, so therefore it is easier to kind of hit her out of it while she's doing it. Some buffs though, the cancel version of Jinrai now goes further. That is forward A. So if it ever whiffed on the combo on you before, it definitely shouldn't anymore. Her lightning slash, specifically the heavy punch version, now recovers faster. That's good. That makes her zoning game just a little bit better if she can recover quicker at all. And this is going to be a big deal because it also ties in with another factor. So her orb placement here is now unified. All the versions have the exact same speed, which is that of the light punch version, which is the fastest. So this is just better. This controls a lot more of the screen. This is going to make her a bigger threat when it comes to general zoning, because she can fill the screen with garbage very, very easily. The zoning version of Orochi Shermie going to be quite a bit better. Her lightning axe kick, that's of course go back, and heavy kick and light kick as well. But yeah, the heavy version specifically increased distance traveled, so she'll go further when doing it, and also increased opponent's guard recovery. So while she's still a little negative on block, the frames are now more in her favor, so to her advantage. Her dive kick now has better frames. It recovers quicker. It's still negative, but you know, as long as you space it, you should be okay. Her kick super, specifically the in-air version, now when she lands, can be either advance canceled or climax canceled. Now, as you can see, it doesn't guarantee it's going to hit depending on the angle, but it's an option you have available to you that you didn't have before, so that's handy at least. And also, her level 3 has expanded the hitbox to connect. So ideally in those situations, which we did whiff, but ideally in some of those situations, this should hit a bit better now. So there you go. So yeah, Orochi Shermie, just the fact her base fireball is a bit better, and her screen control fireballs now have faster startup, just like the light one. Like, she's going to get annoying. I think she's going to be an annoying character to fight. We'll see. But that and the fact that she didn't eat all the nerfs that regular Shermie ate, so she retains some combo structure that normal Shermie can't do anymore. Those are good things. So now finally, Orochi Chris. So like a lot of the characters, stand light punch, reduce recovery frames, his crouching light kick. It is increased, so it is a 5-framer now instead of a 6-framer, with more recovery if you just let it rock as a singleton. Crouch heavy punch also, just like regular Chris, slower, so 6 frames now instead of 5 frames. Jump heavy kick, once again, worse hitbox. When the characters share the same normals, that's the problem, is they mostly get nerfed in turn, although Orochi Shermie and regular Shermie didn't, so. Forward A, his command normal, is now faster, 11 frame startup, as long as you do the cancel version versus 13 like it used to be before. Much like regular Chris, forward light kick here, if you do it in the cancel version, then it has a better hitbox. Handy enough, I suppose. And his light version of his uppercut, so has a better hitbox and increased the knockback. Okay, fair enough. And it is also more invincible against jump-ins than it was before. So if you're looking for a viable anti-air, now you don't got to break the bank. Regular light punch DP, it'll work. And that's about it. So sharing some of the same nerfs as regular Chris, but in the end, I don't think it'll be too big of a deal. How Maru, are you ready for a revolution in patch notes? Far standing heavy punch, better hitbox. Close standing light punch, better recovery. We're done. Nakodoru, so down forward heavy punch. Now it does not knock back as far on hit. Quarter circle forward heavy punch, that is their big slash. Expanded the hurt box upwards, so easier to hit her out of it when the attack is starting up. And when you're up on Mamahaha, when you do the recovery, you recover a little bit faster. That's it. Not a lot of changes for the Sam Show characters. So Darli is the only Sam Show character with any real amount of changes, which she's also kind of the worst of them, so fair enough, right? Far heavy punch. Now far heavy punch, the initial hit is now special cancelable. So you can figure out some stuff from there, I'm sure. Close heavy kick. This is probably your best move, and it's getting a bit better. Reduce knockback and increase the duration of the knockback, which means this is now a natural combo. So don't need to go for like the counter hit setup or the meaty or whatever. This combo's in and of itself. It's a link. It's tight. You can drop it, but it works. Heavy blade surf hits from a bit further than it did before. Not magic or nothing, but it is there. And the EX version. Now it says altered the opponent's behavior on the last hit. It seems about the same to me, but maybe it just means they get the follow-ups and all that just a little bit closer, therefore just a little bit easier. The hammer. So if you happen to get a level 2 hammer, the opponent's guard duration is different on block, as it is massively plus on block now. If you manage to connect, then the hit is a bit different here. They're not knocked back as far away. So it's not a magic move or nothing, right? But it's more worthwhile to give it a shot. High Tide, that's the big poke. Has an even better hitbox than it did before. So if you're fishing for long range, well, there you go. And now the EX upgrab, this guy here, they added Juggle Anywhere to it. So normally before you do this and like that would be your follow-up or whatever. Now you can sneak in a couple extra things. Like right there, she flipped out, right? But since it's Juggle Anywhere, that now works. So you can add extra hits that would normally cause the combo to end, and as long as they don't touch the ground, this will now grab them. So this will give her more overall damage and more opportunities to create damage. So that is definitely a buff. Now Darli, despite how cool she is, and these buffs are good buffs, she's probably not screaming up the tier list anytime soon, but still, it is what it is. And finally, here we are at the end of this video, Omega Rugal. First change out of the gate is actually a titanic change. So stand heavy punch. And he's got a really, really, really good stand heavy punch. And now stand heavy punch is special cancelable. Like, that's a big deal. Like, that's actually a very, very large deal. So fireball pressure at minimum. It is natural combo into light vanishing rush as well. Like, just having special cancelable moves is really good. And one with this range, one with a move that he would do a lot anyways, just because the range is so good and the poke is so good. Really big deal. Jump heavy punch is a little slower. It is now 8 frames from 6 frames. Double tomahawk. So it is now forward light kick instead of back light kick. And also it brings the opponent way into you on the regular hit. Like, it has a little bit of a vacuum effect. That's interesting. Also, the cancel version also brings the opponent into you. So that's really good. Vanishing Rush, the heavy version specifically. So I always like this move because it was plus on block. I'm just like that kind of stuff, right? It is now faster, 29 frames versus 31, so 2 frames quicker than it was before. Can now hit in-air opponents, although honestly I've been trying and it's kind of difficult. You got to be kind of lucky to have it hit someone in the air. But maybe jumping out of it's not free because, once again, as it's plus on block. One of the other changes here is it now pushes back less when it gets blocked, so he can actually enjoy those plus frames. Violent Ray, that is his eyeball lasers, is actually quite a bit better. Has a better hitbox and also does 20 more damage. Used to do 60, now does 80. So it's a good damage buff on a decent projectile. And his level 3, well, it does more minimum damage. So at the end of a long combo now, the minimum damage on the last hit used to be 100, now it is 120. So you'll be doing at least 20 more damage in longer combos. So yeah, not a lot of changes, but stand heavy punch being special cancelable is a pretty big deal, honestly, as far as I'm concerned anyways. Making his plus on block move just a little bit better, and also if you try to jump out of it, it might tag you while you're jumping, so that's also good. The tomahawk changes bringing you closer is interesting. But yeah, so just good buffs, doing better. And that, my friends, is the video. So hopefully you learned something. It's a pretty big patch. One thing I'll add here at the end is I can't profess to be a master of every single one of these characters, right? So if there's something you can add to what I said, or maybe something I didn't fully understand, please by all means post in the comments below, because I just want as many people as educated as possible. And this video took a long time to make, so if you could drop a like, that would be greatly appreciated. But overall, I think this is a very strong patch. A lot of the top tiers that were nerfed, honestly, I still think are going to be some of the better characters in the game. A lot of the low tiers that got buffs are good quality of life buffs. I do think we'll see the tier list shift around just a little bit, but it's not going to be wild. Like, I don't think Maxima's going to be on top or nothing, but I also don't think Krohnen is exactly going to the bottom either, right? So we'll wait and see how it hashes out. But overall, I think this is a very strong patch. And, well, that's it for the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some King of Fighters.
This is the love making.